Chapter 1832, Start of the Competition, 1, Nonsense. If I'm not, then you are. The master of the Ning family said unhappily. He was really depressed in his heart. If it wasn't for Uncle Long's valiance, he wouldn't be in this state. However, these old fellows actually wanted to see him make a fool of himself. This was really preposterous. The more he thought about it, the angrier he became, and his gaze toward the Grand Elder and the Qing clan's patriarch became more and more unkind. Humph. He couldn't do anything to the old whale, but he could deal with these two. The master of the Ning family thought to himself. However, his obviously dangerous gaze made the first elder and the master of the Qing family instantly raise their vigilance. The two of them quietly and slowly moved to Leng Ruox's side. As he moved, the great elder asked, "Why is old man Ning so angry? I'm not even angry at you for beating me up like this." After moving to Leng Ruox's side, first elder whispered, "Little girl, your godfather is a little abnormal. You have to protect me." When the patriarch of the Qing clan heard the grand elder's words, he hurriedly nodded and said, "Little girl, you can't just leave me in the lurch." Leng Ruoxue was speechless after hearing their conversation. Aren't these two people a little too exaggerated? His godfather's temper had not been good recently, but it was not like what they said. And she realized that she had been speechless more often recently. The whispers between the great elder and the master of the Qing family naturally couldn't escape the ears of the master of the Ning family. After hearing them say this, his eyes widened even more, and the cold air around him began to leak out. On his stern face, the words, "Strangers stay away," were clearly written. Seeing him like this, the demon couldn't help but chuckle. Hee hee. Hearing this laughter, Master Ning became even angrier. "You brat, what are you laughing at? Master Ning is so overbearing. You don't even allow others to laugh." The demon raised his eyebrows and teased. "That's right. Don't laugh." The master of the Ning family roared in anger. "Young man," Uncle Long said with a faint smile, "you're so mighty." "Ah. Uncle Long, I was just joking with them." Uncle Long's words startled the master of the Ning family. How could he have forgotten about this old whale? A joke? Is this funny? Uncle Long asked on purpose. Hee hee. It's all right. The master of the Ning family sneered, a little at a loss. He was a powerful figure in the immortal realm, but he was really helpless in front of Uncle Long, who was even older than him. Ning family's kid, tomorrow is the elite gathering. Now is not the time to joke. Uncle Long said disapprovingly. Then, he said to Master Ning, "Shouldn't you tell the little girl the rules of the elite gathering? I'm here to talk to little girl Shuer about this." The master of the Ning family quickly said, wiping the cold sweat on his forehead without a sound. "Woo, with Uncle Long here, he was under a lot of pressure." Then, he turned to Leng Ruoxue with a bitter expression and said, "Little girl. Tomorrow is the official start of the elite competition. There are a few things you must pay attention to." Master Ning's face was serious when he said this. Leng Ruoxue and the others looked at him attentively and listened attentively. First of all, don't underestimate the enemy. Secondly, don't be soft-hearted, and thirdly, adapt to the situation. As long as you remember these 3 points, you will definitely be successful in the elite gathering. The master of the Ning family said worriedly. "Godfather, why don't you be soft-hearted? Isn't the elite competition supposed to stop there?" Leng Ruoxue asked in confusion after hearing Master Ning's 3 points. "Little girl. You've asked the right question. The elite competition doesn't stop when you've pointed it out, but it's possible to kill you. Therefore, you must be extra careful during the competition. Moreover, you must not be soft-hearted when dealing with the enemy, because this may be a trap for the enemy. Therefore, you can do whatever you want in the elite competition and show yourself well. After all, this is the best opportunity for you to make a name for yourself." The master of the Ning family warned. "Yes." Leng Ruoxue nodded. After hearing her godfather's words, she was looking forward to the elite gathering. She just didn't know if this elite gathering would live up to its name. Little girl, the elite competition can be very bloody sometimes, so you must not take it lightly. Uncle Long also warned. Uncle Long, don't worry. Well, be careful. Len Ruoxue promised. Oh right, Shuai, which 5 people from your God-tier master group should participate in the competition tomorrow? The master of the Ning family asked. Feng De, Lin Yuan, and I will definitely go. The other 2 spots have not been decided yet. Len Ruoxue said after some thought. Miss, let me go. Lu Tao took the initiative to ask. Alright, then you and Suizhu. You two can take care of each other. Len Ruoxue agreed. As for the demon, he would join the God King group. Hence, they might not meet him. Thank you, miss. Hearing this, Leto and Suizhu were very happy. Grape and Lotus were also happy for them. After all, the elite gathering was very rare, and they also had the opportunity to participate in it because their cultivation levels were different. However, they would not be in the same group, so it was still unknown whether they would meet each other. Don't be too happy yet. Godfather and Uncle Long have said that the elite gathering is very dangerous. So, you must be extra careful, especially Suizhu. I'm most worried about you. Len Ruoxue asked worriedly. The reason why she allowed Suizhu to participate was because she was afraid that Suizhu would feel bad if she saw that the other 3 had the chance to participate as well. The difference would be too great. After all, the 4 of them had always been together. Miss, I will be careful. Quize's cheeks were slightly red as she said in embarrassment. Miss, I will also keep an eye on her. Seeing this, Lu Tao quickly promised. You guys might not end up together, so how are you going to watch? The master of the Ning family couldn't help but pour cold water on them when he saw their sisterly love. The competition of the elite competition is held in a special space. Moreover, it's not a one-on-one battle. It could be 1-on-2 or even more. The master of the Ning family continued. Godfather, is there anything special about this special space? When Len Ruoxue heard this, she couldn't help but ask curiously. Little girl. This special space was personally created by Master Yu for the competition of the elite competition. In there, the participants from each clan will be randomly sent to the battlefield. If you are lucky, the strength of the participants in the battlefield will be weaker, and if you are unlucky, you will be in danger of losing your life. The master of the Ning family explained patiently. Then on the battlefield, will it be a chaotic battle? Len Ruoxue could not help but ask. Not really. Every battlefield is very large, so you might not be so unlucky as to encounter a group of enemies. However, anything can happen on the battlefield. There are also temporary alliances to deal with others. That's why I told you to adapt to the situation. In short, whether you can survive and achieve good results in there is all up to you. As Master Ning spoke, he started to worry again, and the way he looked at Len Ruoxue also became extremely resentful. Chapter 1833, Start of the Competition, 2. Seeing this, Len Ruoxue's forehead was filled with black lines. She thought to herself, Godfather is worried again. However, she couldn't let her godfather's heart turn cold because of his good intentions. So, she smiled and said, Godfather, you should believe in our strength. By the way, how's the strength of the Ning clan's contestant? She changed the topic. Although he's not the Ning family's top elite, his strength is still passable. After hearing Len Ruoxue's words, Master Ning said. Then if we meet them on the battlefield of the elite gathering, should we help each other out? Len Ruoxue asked with a smile. That would be for the best, of course. The master of the Ning family nodded. In fact, he had the same idea, but Shuai had said it first. Godfather, then please send someone to bring Feng De and the others to get to know your Ning family's representative. In case they don't know each other on the battlefield. Len Ruoxue suggested. Alright, he said. The master of the Ning family nodded, and then he shouted towards the outside of the hall, Men, Then, two guards walked in. After the master of the Ning family gave some instructions, the guard left the living room with Feng De and the others. After they left, the Qing clan's clan head looked at Leng Ruoxue with hidden bitterness. His face was filled with dissatisfaction as he said, "Little girl, you're so biased. Why don't you try to get closer to our Qing family? Our Qing clan can also form an alliance with you on the battlefield." "Ah. Forget about the Qing family," Leng Ruoxue said with a slight headache. After the incident at the Mystic Realm, it was hard for her to have a good impression of the Qing family. Naturally, she would not want to mix with them again. "Little girl, how can you be so biased?" Leng Ruoxue's words made the head of the Qing family feel embarrassed as he complained. "So what if I'm biased? I'm her godfather, so shouldn't she be biased towards our Ning family?" Not used to seeing the Qing family's master acting pitiful, the Ning family's master was very protective. "But I'm not an outsider," the head of the Qing clan said shamelessly. "I'll say something fair. Old Cheng. Compared to us, you really are an outsider." At this time, the first elder also spoke. After hearing their conversation, the master of the Qing clan was very depressed. However, he did not give up and continued to ask Leng Ruoxue, "Little girl, do you think I'm an outsider? Whatever they say doesn't count, I want to hear it from you." Leng Ruoxue was rendered speechless by Master Cheng's stubbornness. Her forehead was filled with black lines. What was she supposed to say? Although she really wanted to say yes, she was afraid of hurting the Qing family's head's pride. After all, this old man was Godfather's friend. However, if she were to say such hurtful words, her heart would feel stifled and flustered. Thus, she was conflicted. This really put her in a dilemma. "Old man Cheng, don't make things difficult for Shuer, you're really an outsider." Seeing Leng Ruoxue's dilemma, Master Ning told her the truth. Master Ning's words made Master Cheng so angry that he couldn't say anything. He instantly forgot to question Leng Ruoxue and turned the spearhead to Master Ning. "You're good, old man Ning. You actually bully me like this. To think that we've known each other for so many years. Woo, how could you abandon me after having sex?" After a long while, the Qing clan's patriarch finally managed to speak a complete sentence with tears in his eyes. However, his words shocked a large number of people. Leng Ruoxue and the others looked at Master Cheng in shock, then at Master Ning, whose face was ashen. No one was tactful enough to make fun of him, but their surprised gazes were enough to make Master Ning burn with anger. "Uncle Long. I'm going to beat him up." The master of the Ning family pointed at the master of the Qing family and told Uncle Long. "Ah. This is a matter between the two of you, so there's no need to ask me." A few drops of cold sweat rolled down Uncle Long's forehead as he said in a speechless manner. "I know, I'm just saying hello to you," the master of the Ning family said with a face full of flattery. Then, he glared at the master of the Qing family. "Qing clan's old thing, let's have a one-on-one fight." With that, Master Ning grabbed Master Cheng's collar and dragged him away again. Watching the two of them leave, everyone felt some sympathy for Master Cheng, because everyone could see that Master Ning was really angry this time. After all, no one wanted to be said to be abandoned after having sex. At the thought of this, everyone's gaze turned to the Great Elder again, causing the Great Elder's hair to stand on end. "Why are you all looking at me? I didn't say that old man Ning abandoned you after having sex," the first elder said with a face full of fear. "Great Elder, did the Ning family's brat really mess around and then abandon us?" Uncle Long asked with a smile. "Ah. I'm not sure, you have to ask the person involved." The Great Elder shrunk his neck, obviously not wanting to get involved in the matter between those two. "All right. I'll ask the Ning family's kid when he comes back later, and I'll say that you asked me to ask," Uncle Long said with a smirk. "Don't. Brother Long." Hearing Uncle Long's words, the Great Elder wanted to cry to death. Wasn't this bullying? If Uncle Long really asked Old Man Ning that, he would be the next one to be dragged out. Then tell me. Uncle Long said with a smile. But I really don't know. The great elder's expression was conflicted. He was so depressed that he wanted to vomit blood. Woo! The divine realm was truly dangerous. Ha ha ha. Uncle Long, please don't make things difficult for the great elder. How could Godfather tell anyone about this? Leng Ruoxue was afraid that she would add fuel to the fire if the world wasn't in chaos. Even though she had managed to remove the great elder, she had planted the seed of suspicion on her own godfather. That's true. Uncle Long nodded his head and gave Leng Ruoxue a face by not asking the great elder any further. When First Elder saw this, he cast a grateful glance at Leng Ruoxue. Whoa! This little girl was so considerate of him. He was really touched. Then, he found another reason and left the living room in a hurry. He couldn't stay in this place any longer. It was too dangerous and full of traps. After the great elder left, Uncle Long smiled happily. Ha ha ha. This old man is quite scared. Uncle Long said in a good mood. Hearing Uncle Long's words, Leng Ruoxue felt extremely helpless. However, she also guessed that Uncle Long was too bored. Otherwise, why would he start teasing First Elder again? After a long time, the master of the Ning family came back in a good mood. This time, he was the only one who returned. Godfather, didn't the Qing family head come back with you? Leng Ruoxue couldn't help but laugh as she asked. Why did he come back with me? That old thing is too embarrassed to see anyone, so he's hiding at home. I don't think he'll dare to come back in the near future. The master of the Ning family said confidently. What did you do to him? Leng Ruoxue asked, feeling a little speechless. Nothing much, we just sparred and he lost. The master of the Ning family said concisely. Leng Ruoxue believed that her godfather's words were definitely not as simple as he made them out to be. Otherwise, why would the Qing family head not dare to come to her house? However, would that old man really not dare to come again in the near future? She didn't believe that. Chapter 1834, Start of the Competition, 3, Girls, there's a competition tomorrow. You should rest early today. Afraid that Leng Ruoxue would question him further, Master Ning reminded her and left after saying that. The next day. It was the official opening day of the elite conference. Leng Ruoxue and the rest followed Master Ning's group to the Divine Master's residence. The competition was held in a spacious arena in the Divine Lord's estate. It was the largest arena in the Divine Lord's estate with the best facilities. It was rarely used unless there was an important competition. As they entered the arena, they saw that the facilities in the arena were just like the Divine Lord's residence's supreme position. It was extremely luxurious and beautiful. At this moment, the seats around the arena were already filled with many people. According to Leng Ruoxue's knowledge, most of the people seated there were representatives of the various clans in the divine realm. As for the participants from the various clans, they would only enter the arena a moment before the start of the competition to maintain a sense of mystery. They were the ones who didn't follow the rules. However, it was estimated that no one would think that they were contestants, because the state they showed was too casual. In addition, they followed the Ning family master, so it was not surprising that they were misunderstood as members of the Ning family. Master Ning, long time no see. I didn't expect you to come so early. Before they could step into the Ning family's exclusive seats, a somewhat annoying voice rang in their ears. Everyone looked up and saw dozens of people surrounding the head of the Yao family. They were standing not far away from them, looking at them from a distance. Aren't you early too? The master of the Ning family said indifferently. Hee hee. Our Yao family has attached great importance to this elite gathering, so we naturally have to arrive early. The head of the Yao family said with a proud tone. Then I wish you all good results. Master Ning said perfunctorily. After he finished speaking, he wanted to turn around, but he was blocked by Master Yao, who didn't know how to read the mood. Don't be in such a hurry to leave. Let's have a good chat. The head of the Yao family said shamelessly. What do we have to talk about? The master of the Ning family raised his eyebrows and said in disbelief. Of course. We have a common enemy. The head of the Yao family approached the head of the Ning family and whispered. You found his whereabouts? Upon hearing this, Master Ning suddenly had an idea. If it wasn't for this old thing wouldn't have come to him to show off. The him he was referring to was naturally Master Wen. Yeah, I've received news that there's someone in Ice City who looks like him. The head of the Yao clan said. What do you mean by looking like it? You can't even be sure, and you're still showing off in front of me? Hearing this, the master of the Ning family was angry. Couldn't this old thing be more reliable? She actually dared to tell him things that she wasn't completely sure of. She was really tired of living. He couldn't help but curse in his heart. Although I'm not very sure, it's most likely him. However, he's in disguise, so my men can't be sure. The head of the Yao clan said somewhat embarrassedly. Oh. Then why are you telling me this? The master of the Ning family pretended to be confused. You old thing, are you playing dumb? I'm telling you this because I hope you can come with me to deal with him. The head of the Yao family gritted his teeth. Actually, he could have gone to find the person who was suspected to be the head of the Wen family himself. However, he was afraid that people would be dissatisfied if he monopolized the Wen family's divine realm in the future. Therefore, he wanted to pull the Ning family along. In this way, there would not be many people in the divine world who would want to make irresponsible remarks. Only the two of us. The master of the Ning family frowned. He understood what the old man of the Yao family meant. It was nothing more than his intention to divide the Wen family's territory after getting rid of the old god of plagues. However, he was not too interested in the Wen family's divine realm, so he did not want to get involved in this mess. More importantly, he did not agree with the old man of the Yao family's action of excluding the others. After all, they were once comrades in the same trench. In addition, there were also the Yin family and the Qing family, so he could not do that. Don't tell me you want to drag in the Yin and Qing clans? If the two of them are added, then the Wen's divine domain will be in our hands. You have to think carefully. The head of the Yao family made his words very clear. It's not just the Yin clan and the Qing clan, there are other people. Including the beasts of the endless sea. Since the old god of plagues is our common enemy, I don't think we should exclude them. That's not right. The master of the Ning family said disapprovingly. Hearing this, the head of the Yao family was so angry that his face turned pale. He was a little reluctant to call the old man Ning. If he really listened to the old man Ning and called all the affected forces to deal with the old god of plagues together, what benefits would they have? If it was the Wen family of the past, they could still manage to do so. However, apart from the fact that the territory was not occupied by anyone, what else did the Wen family have? The head of the Yao family took a deep breath and forced himself to calm down. After a long while, he said, if we call them, it'll be good enough if we can get a piece of land as big as a fart. Is this what you want? The location isn't important, what's important is everyone's friendship. Why can't you understand? The head of the Ning family said with a face of disappointment. To be honest, he was not very interested in the Wen family's divine realm. After all, it was quite far from the Ning family's divine realm and it was inconvenient to manage it. Therefore, he did not want to divide up the Wen family's territory, but he also did not want the Yao family to monopolize it. Therefore, he suggested for the Yao family to gather more forces to deal with the old god of plagues together. However, he knew that the Yao family's old man would not agree easily, but it was fine if he did not agree. In any case, she would not join him in the dirty work. You're really that generous? The head of the Yao family asked in disbelief. It's not that I'm being generous. The Wen family's divine realm doesn't belong to me. Whoever has the ability can take it. Furthermore, this is not a matter of the Yao family. If you're not afraid of incurring the wrath of the masses, you can take the Wen family's divine domain for yourself. I won't fight with you. The master of the Ning family promised. When did you become so gentle? The head of the Yao family said, somewhat exasperated. This isn't gentleness. I have a sense of justice. Master Ning said with a smile. After he finished speaking, he led Leng Ruoxue and the others past Master Yao to their personal seats, leaving Master Yao and his clansmen standing stupidly in the passageway with a dark expression. Damn it! Was he being rejected? Looking at Master Ning's back, Master Yao felt indignant. How could he be willing to share the Wen family's divine realm with so many people like the old man Ning had said? Although the Wen family's power had been uprooted and was not as strong as before, a skinny camel was still bigger than a horse. Although the Wen family was gone, the Wen family's territory was still there. Moreover, that place was one of the best places in the divine realm and had been developed by the Wen family for many years. They did not need to spend much effort to restore it to its original state. Therefore, he was extremely unwilling to share it with so many forces. However, the old man of the Ning family had made it clear that he wanted to join forces with all the forces. This result made him, who had thought that victory was in his hands, extremely conflicted. In contrast to the Yao family's master's depressed mood, the Ning family's master was very calm as he went to his own exclusive seat. After he sat down, he started nagging at Leng Ruoxue and the others. Little girl. You must be careful and bring more pills. There's no use for them. It was because I brought too few pills back then that I lost to another guy. Thinking of the past, the master of the Ning family couldn't help but sigh. What? Leng Ruoxue was astonished. Even Godfather had an opponent? AI. It was a long story. Let's not talk about it. The master of the Ning family obviously didn't want to talk about this matter. When Leng Ruoxue saw her godfather like this, the fire of gossip actually burned in her heart. However, no matter how she tried to beat around the bush, her godfather would not talk about this matter. Seeing this, Uncle Long laughed again. Ha ha ha. Little girl, do you know what it means to give birth to a beauty? If I'm not mistaken, this should be a phrase that you humans often sigh with. This sentence is exactly what the Ning family's boy is thinking. Ah. Uncle Long is indeed knowledgeable. Leng Ruoxue was stunned when she heard Uncle Long's words. She didn't think that Uncle Long would even know about already born Yu and he born Liang. He even knew how to use them. This was really beyond her expectations. Hee hee. Of course, back in the day, I've been to quite a few planes, and you weren't even born at that time. Uncle Long said proudly. He was also starting to miss the glorious days of the past. Uncle Long's words caused Leng Ruoxue to feel so depressed that black lines appeared on her forehead. She couldn't help but sigh in her heart. Of course, she wasn't born yet. Adding up her past and current lives, she wasn't even 50 years old yet. Ha ha ha. A real man doesn't talk about his past achievements, so let's not talk about the past. Following that, Uncle Long consoled himself and even gave Leng Ruoxue a look. Leng Ruoxue understood and quickly changed the topic. Godfather, we're going to the next game in a while. Leng Ruoxue tried to start a conversation. Okay, be careful. The master of the Ning family nodded and said somewhat listlessly. At this moment, the Grand Elder of the Craftsmen's Guild headquarters walked over and gave Leng Ruoxue and the others some instructions. Not long after, the competition officially began. Leng Ruoxue and the rest followed the arrangement of the competition staff and followed him to the center of the arena in an orderly manner. At this moment, a teleportation door had already appeared there. Following the order that had been arranged beforehand, everyone entered the door one after another. With a flash of white light, all the participants disappeared from the arena. Chapter 1835, Ji Yun, 1. After Leng Ruoxue and the others were teleported away from the arena, the master of the Ning family, who was sitting in his own exclusive seat, frowned. Uncle Long was surprised to see this. What's wrong? Worried about the little girl? You should believe in her strength. She can't be unrivaled in the God tier division. Uncle Long comforted her. He believed that the little girl could handle any emergency. He couldn't understand why the Ning family's kid was always worried about this and that. I know, but I'm feeling a little uneasy, the master of the Ning family said. He didn't know why, but he had a feeling that something bad was going to happen, and this feeling came very suddenly. You're thinking too much. Just watch the game in peace. Uncle Long sighed and said helplessly. They could see everything that the participants were doing in the special space through the light curtain, so they would know very soon whether the little girl was doing well or not. Therefore, he was not worried at all. More importantly, the participants were not under their eyes. Even if they were worried, it would be of no use. In that case, why should they waste their energy? I hope so. The master of the Ning family said weakly, and then turned his attention to the huge light screen in the arena. At this moment, Leng Ruoxue and the others had already been teleported to the various battlefields. It was called a battlefield because the atmosphere there was very much like a battlefield. The whole special space gave people a gloomy feeling, and a trace of bloody smell floated in the sky. Even the air there was dark red, which made people feel very uncomfortable. The moment Leng Ruoxue entered this place, she was already very displeased with it. This place made her chest feel stuffy and made her feel very uncomfortable. More importantly, this place made her feel like she was going to have a big fight. Something was not right. Seeing this, Leng Ruoxue could not help but raise her guard. Standing on the empty battlefield, Leng Ruoxue lifted her beautiful eyes to survey her surroundings. As far as she could see, the area was extremely spacious and there was not a single person. Not only that, there was not even a single targeted building in the surroundings. There was also a faint layer of mist floating in the air on the battlefield. Leng Ruoxue's heart was filled with suspicion. She didn't expect to be the only one here. Then, where were the others transported to? As she thought about this, Leng Ruoxue had already started to walk away. Leng Ruoxue followed her instincts and walked forward. She didn't know how long she had been walking, but she finally walked out of the place she had been in. After walking out of the thin mist, Leng Ruoxue once again sized up the environment in front of her. This place seemed to be better than the place she was at earlier. At least, she could see a sea of lush green here. The surrounding trees were very lush and she could even see a few small hills. However, the air here was still the same as before, gloomy and dark red. There were not many changes. Leng Ruoxue walked to the side of a hill and sat down. She then contacted Qingju. Qingju, are you restricted in this place? Leng Ruoxue could not help but ask. Yes, sister. I can't sense anything here. Qingju said guiltily. He was very depressed that he could not help his sister. It's okay. I'll sit here and rest for a while. I'll continue to find the way out later. Leng Ruoxue consoled before sitting down on the small hill to rest. While she was resting, Leng Ruoxue did not forget to observe her surroundings. However, the more she looked, the stranger this place became. What she was even more curious about was how big this place was. Why was it that other than herself, there was not a single living thing in sight? In this case, who would she call? Before they came in, the staff had told them that the competition would last for a month. Within a month, whoever won the most battles would be the final winner. The winner would only win if they received a token from their opponent. As for the token, it was naturally a jade token given to them by the staff before the competition. However, there was no one in front of her. Where could she find an opponent? At the thought of this, Leng Ruoxue's heart was filled with endless gloominess. She casually toyed with the jade token hanging by her waist. She suddenly felt a faint trace of divine power on the jade token, which involuntarily attracted her attention. Could it be that someone had left a mark on the jade token? However, these jade tokens were distributed by the Divine Master's estate. Who would leave such a faint divine power on them? A trace of suspicion flashed across Leng Ruoxue's beautiful face. At the same time, she raised her guard even more. After resting for an unknown amount of time, Leng Ruoxue stood up and was about to leave. Suddenly, her sharp ears picked up a rustling sound from the thicket. After pondering for a moment, Leng Ruoxue walked towards the direction of the sound. As they neared the thicket, Leng Ruoxue stood outside and asked loudly, "Who's inside? Come out." However, there was no response from the bushes. She held the sword in her hand without making a sound. Leng Ruoxue used the tip of the sword to push aside the weeds that were half the height of a person outside the thicket. Then, she brandished the sword and stabbed into the thicket. "Arg! Don't kill me! Don't kill me! Help me!" With a flash of cold light, a voice begging for mercy came from the forest. The voice was choked with sobs. "Who is it? Come out!" Leng Ruoxue shouted. Actually, she had not used her full strength in that attack. She had only wanted to test the thing that was hiding in the thicket. She did not expect that there would really be an unknown life form there. "I'm out, don't kill me." Woo! As soon as he finished speaking, a young man came out of the bushes. The young man looked like he was in his early 20s and was quite handsome. However, his face was pale and his clear eyes showed a trace of fear. When he saw Leng Ruoxue, the young man was stunned for a moment, but he quickly regained his composure. "Don't kill me," the young man said again with a face full of fear. His clear watery eyes were glistening, making him look pitiful. Woo! This woman is so fierce. His father was right, women were all tigers. "Who are you? Why are you hiding behind the bushes?" Leng Ruoxue's face was stern as she spoke coldly. "My name is Ji Yun. I am a member of the Ji clan." The young man looked at Leng Ruoxue carefully and reported his family background. "The Ji family, never heard of them." Leng Ruoxue replied indifferently. She did not care which family they were from. She couldn't let down her guard against anyone who appeared on this battlefield. Therefore, even though this man appeared weak, she didn't let down her guard. The Ji family is just a small family. It's normal that you haven't heard of them. Ji Yun said nonchalantly. He wasn't a top-grade crystal, so he naturally couldn't let everyone know about him and like him. He knew his own limits. "You still haven't told me what you're doing hiding behind the bushes." Leng Ruoxue continued with her previous question. "Dodge the opponent. The competition would last for a month. If I'm discovered too early, I'll be in a very miserable state. I might even be in danger of dying. Thus, I can't let anyone discover my existence. My parents also told me that as long as I find a good place to hide after entering the battlefield and no one can find me, then after the competition is over, I will naturally be able to return home safe and sound. If I'm lucky, I might even be able to get a ranking or something." Ji Yun said very honestly. Chapter 1836, Ji Yun, 2, Don't tell me you plan to hide here for a month? Leng Ruoxue's face was filled with black lines as she asked. There were all kinds of birds in a big forest. She had just entered this place for the first day and she had already met such a lazy guy. She really didn't know how his parents had educated their child. To tell their child's parents this, it could be considered a weirdo, right? Moreover, Qing Ju had also clearly told her that Ji Yun was speaking the truth. Qing Ju was worried about Ji Yun and had already read his mind. "I did have that idea, but it's a pity that you found out on the first day." "Woo, why is my luck so bad?" Ji Yun's face was bitter, as if he was about to cry. When Leng Ruoxue saw this, her forehead was already covered in dark clouds. This fellow was really... "Let's discuss this, okay? Let's not fight anymore. I admit defeat and I can give you the jade plate. Please spare my life. I'm not married yet. Sob, I have the elderly and the children at home, and they all need me to take care of them. They can't live without me." Seeing that Leng Ruoxue didn't respond, Ji Yun continued to complain. His words almost drove Leng Ruoxue mad. This fellow really made her speechless. Leng Ruoxue was instantly rendered speechless and flabbergasted, not knowing what to say. Her beautiful eyes glared at Ji Yun for a long while before Leng Ruoxue blurted out, "Aren't you still single? Where did you get the idea of having a child?" I still have a group of younger brothers and sisters who need me to take care of them. And my parents, great-grandfather, great-grandmother, great-grandfather. As Ji-Yun spoke, he counted with his fingers. However, before he could finish his long-winded speech, he was interrupted by Leng Ruoxue, who could no longer bear it. Stop. If you continue, I'll just kill you right now, and your family will have no one to rely on. Leng Ruoxue threatened helplessly. Even though she knew that this fellow's words had a lot of exaggerations, but seeing how he was so good at making things up, she wouldn't be calculative with him. Furthermore, winning against such a weirdo didn't give her any sense of accomplishment. Furthermore, they hadn't even started fighting, and this fellow had already admitted defeat. He even took the initiative to give her the jade token. Just thinking about it made her feel like laughing. If I don't tell you, will you let me go? Ji-Yun said uncertainly. He could tell that this woman's temper wasn't very good, because she was extremely impatient. Her father was right again. The more beautiful a woman was, the worse her temper would be. Did I say I wouldn't let you go? Leng Ruoxue raised her eyebrows and asked. He. No. I misunderstood, I thought you wanted to fight me. Ji-Yun said, somewhat embarrassed. Fight you? I'm sorry, you can't pique my interest in fighting. Leng Ruoxue said without giving him any face. There was even a hint of disdain in her words. Woo. You've hurt my self-esteem. Ji-Yun's face was filled with hidden bitterness as a layer of mist appeared in his clear eyes. You actually hurt your self-esteem? When Leng Ruoxue heard Ji-Yun's words, a look of surprise appeared on her face. She didn't mishear, right? Yes. Ji-Yun solemnly nodded his head. Then, he looked at Leng Ruoxue with a hint of resentment. Where's your pride? Let me take a look. Leng Ruoxue asked curiously. This can only be understood, not explained. Ji-Yun lowered his head shyly, his cheeks blushed. Seeing him like this, Leng Ruoxue really wanted to give him a vicious kick. However, bullying him felt like bullying a small animal. His pitiful look was too much like some kind of small animal. At the thought of this, Leng Ruoxue sighed heavily in her heart. Then, she turned around and left. However, she had just taken a step when she felt her sleeve being tugged by something. Why are you pulling me? Do you want to challenge me? Leng Ruoxue turned around and raised her brows. She looked at Ji-Yun with a half-smile. Ah. Of course not. When Ji-Yun heard this, he was so frightened that he quickly let go of Leng Ruoxue's sleeve. You can't leave me behind. Ji-Yun said pitifully, his eyes beginning to tear up. Why can't I just leave you behind? When Leng Ruoxue heard this, she laughed. However, the beautiful smile on her face caused Ji-Yun's heart to palpitate with fear. Ji-Yun unconsciously lowered his head, not daring to look at the bright smile on Leng Ruoxue's face. Women were all tigers, and beautiful women were the big tigers among tigers. This was his father's wise saying, and he had been influenced by it since he was young. Thus, Leng Ruoxue's beauty was not a lethal poison to him, and he believed in it without a doubt. Thus, when he first saw Leng Ruoxue, other than being stunned, his mind was filled with his father's warnings. Other than that, he had no other thoughts. You're the first person I've met here, so our friendship is naturally different. So, you can't leave me behind. After thinking for a moment, Ji-Yun said in a low voice. You're wrong. In my eyes, you're just a passerby. So, I can totally abandon you. Leng Ruoxue said with a smile. Arg. No. How could you do this? Isn't it good for us to be together? It's better for the two of us to take care of each other, right? Ji-Yun tried his best to put on a cute expression as he smiled. Then may I ask if you're taking care of me, or am taking care of you? Leng Ruoxue could not help but ask. He. Of course, we'll take care of each other. Besides, I can protect you too, right? Ji-Yun said with a smile. You want to protect me? Don't tell me that your protection is for me to hide here with you. Leng Ruoxue took a look at Ji Yun's proud expression and guessed. How do you know? You're really amazing. Hee hee. There's nothing wrong with this place. At least it's safe. Ji Yun said heartlessly. Safe? How could I find out that it was safe? If I really wanted to kill you, would you still have your life? Leng Ruoxue looked at Ji Yun helplessly. But you didn't kill him, did you? I know you won't kill me. We're already friends, aren't we? Ji Yun said in a friendly manner. We can't be considered friends. I've said it before, you're just a passerby. Leng Ruoxue was about to go crazy. Don't be like this. Why do you have to keep people 1,000 miles away? Ji Yun grumbled. After he finished speaking, his mischievous hand tugged at Leng Ruoxue's sleeve. Leng Ruoxue looked at her own sleeve, then at Ji Qiu. She let out a heavy sigh and sat down under the tree. Seeing this, Ji Yun also sat down. Right, you haven't told me your name yet. After sitting down, Ji Yun didn't want the awkward silence, so he quickly asked. Leng Ruoxue. Leng Ruoxue said softly. She was really helpless against this fellow. Putting aside the fact that he was very friendly, his skin was extremely thick. Hee hee. It's a nice name. Ji Yun praised with a silly smile. Then, he enthusiastically said, Ruoxue, why don't we stay here for a month? My parents told me that if we're safe and sound after a month, we'll be able to get a ranking if we're lucky. Chapter 1837, Ji Yun, 3, You've said it before. You also said that the idea of finding a place to hide was your parents' idea. Leng Ruoxue reminded. Yes, that's right. Let's hide here for a month. Ji Yun suggested. Ji Yun's words caused Leng Ruoxue to look at him seriously for a long while. Then, she said, You're so unmotivated. Is this a tradition of your family? She was truly curious as to what kind of clan could produce such a weirdo. But then again, this idea seemed to be feasible, but the prerequisite was that it wouldn't be discovered. However, it was obvious that Ji Yun had not found the right hiding place. Hee hee. You can even tell. Ji Yun said with an embarrassed smile. Ah. Leng Ruoxue remained silent. She felt powerless in front of Ji Yun. Leng Ruoxue didn't speak for a long time while Ji Yun looked at her carefully. Neither of them spoke. At this time, Master Ning, who was watching their every move through the light screen, was full of question marks. What was Shuer and that kid talking about? Why did the two of them sit down? Although they could see everything on the battlefield through the light screen, they could only see people and not hear what the people inside were saying. So, after seeing the two of them sit down, the master of the Ning family and the others couldn't help but guess. Clan head, what did young Miss Leng and that brat say? The foreign affairs elder asked in a low voice, his face full of curiosity. You're asking me, but who should I ask? I still want to know. The master of the Ning family glanced at the foreign affairs elder and said unhappily. You guys are really gossipy. What can be said inside? It's nothing more than a companion. Uncle Long looked at the two of them and said calmly. What Brother Long said makes sense. It's indeed possible. However, why does this kid look so silly? The master of the Ning family said with dissatisfaction, like a father whose daughter had been taken away. As long as he saw a man close to his daughter, he would find it unusually piercing. Are there any men who aren't stupid in your eyes? Uncle Long looked at the master of the Ning family and teased him. There are. That demonic man isn't stupid. The master of the Ning family said dejectedly. He couldn't do anything to that evildoer. To be exact, he didn't even care about him as his godfather. He didn't know why, but he was a little afraid of that evildoer. Ha ha ha. Hearing the master of the Ning family's depressed words, Uncle Long laughed out loud, which made the master of the Ning family even more sullen. At the same time, Ji Yun's family members were also paying attention to the screen. When they saw that Leng Ruoxue had discovered Ji Yun and had almost killed him, they broke out in a cold sweat. Then, they saw the two of them sit down and talk to each other. Only then did they relax a little. However, they were still worried. However, Leng Ruoxue and Ji Yun, who were in the middle of the battle, were naturally unaware of the thoughts of those who were closely related to them. The two of them stared at each other for a long while before Ji Yun took out a plump whole chicken from his storage ring. He then lit a fire and roasted the chicken over the fire. Following that, he sprinkled various seasonings on the chicken. Not long after, the aroma of the roast chicken wafted through the air. Seeing this, Leng Ruoxue sighed again. "Can you hide like this?" Leng Ruoxue didn't know what to say. However, this fellow was quite particular. He was clearly going to hide, but he still wanted to roast chicken. "I can't hide. You're a girl, I can't possibly let you go hungry," Ji Yun said with an aggrieved expression. Woo! Ruoxue was finally paying attention to him. It really wasn't easy. It seemed like the charm of food was greater. He thought to himself gloomily. In reality, he was thinking too much. Leng Ruoxue only felt that his actions were a little illogical, and it wasn't because he was interested in the chicken. "You're so considerate." Leng Ruoxue couldn't help but roll her eyes. Hee hee. "You've noticed." Ji Yun's dejected expression was replaced by a brilliant smile. This guy really liked to take advantage of others. After hearing Ji Yun's words, Leng Ruoxue couldn't be bothered with him anymore. However, Ji Yun didn't take it to heart. After he finished roasting the chicken, he took the initiative to pass it to Leng Ruoxue and said solicitously, "Quickly eat. My cooking skills are not bad, it won't taste good when it's cold." "I'm not hungry," Leng Ruoxue said as she looked at the sizzling chicken. She couldn't deny that Ji Yun's cooking skills were not bad because the chicken smelled very good. However, when she thought about Ji Yun's smug personality, she lost her appetite. "How can I not be hungry? We've been here for a long time. Come, let's eat." "You're welcome. I'm not going to charge you," Ji Yun urged with a smile. "From what you're saying, you're planning to collect money from someone else." After hearing Ji Yun's words, Leng Ruoxue was even more speechless. "That's a must. I'm not obligated to get food for free. However, I won't take money from friends I acknowledge," Ji Yun promised. In other words, Leng Ruoxue was a friend that he had acknowledged. "Do I need to thank you?" Leng Ruoxue looked at Ji Yun and said in a serious tone. "No need to thank me. You just need to remember that we are partners." Ji Yun laughed. He was slightly proud in his heart. A chicken had pulled the relationship between the two closer, he thought to himself happily. "All right. Since we're partners, then I won't be polite." Leng Ruoxue finally understood that she couldn't get through to this fellow. Hence, she didn't want to waste her breath on him. She snatched the roasted chicken away and took out the treasure from her bracelet. She then stuffed the roasted chicken into its little claws and instructed, "Eat it. I promise to complete the task." After Baby finished speaking, it opened its mouth and took a big bite of the roast chicken. In one bite, 1/3 of the roast chicken disappeared. Then, Baby finished off the fat roast chicken in 2 or 3 moves. Seeing this, Ji Yun couldn't help but widen his eyes and stammered, "I haven't eaten yet." In fact, the chicken was roasted for the two of them because he was sure that Leng Ruoxue would not be able to finish it. Who knew that such an accident would happen? The entire chicken had entered the stomach of a little fox. He could not help but recall what his mother had told him before. Foxes love to eat chicken the most. Woo, he had miscalculated. This chicken isn't that good. Looking at the aggrieved Ji Yun, Baby wiped his mouth in a matter-of-fact manner and spoke with a slight dissatisfaction. "If it's nothing, why did you eat it all?" Ji Yun suppressed his anger and growled. "How can I disobey my lovely master's orders?" Baby also looked at Ji Yun with an aggrieved expression. In other words, if its master asked it to eat, would it dare to not eat? As a beastie, how can I not listen to my master's words? Baby added. All right. You're ruthless. Ji-yun felt helpless. He could deeply feel that this little fox was much more difficult to deal with than him. Hee hee. Baby smiled smugly and threw himself into Leng Ruox's arms. He said coyly, "My lovely master, is this that special space?" "Oh. The smell here is weird, I don't like it." Baby covered his little nose in disdain. "Then I'll send you back." Leng Ruoxua stroked her baby's fur and smiled. Yes, yes. I'll go back first. My master is summoning me for something." Baby nodded his little head. Following that, Leng Ruoxua placed the treasure back into the bracelet. After sending the treasure away, Leng Ruoxua felt a probing gaze on her. She couldn't help but raise her head and look at Ji-yun. "Why are you looking at me like that?" "It's nothing. I just think that you're getting along well with Beastie," Ji-yun said with an envious expression. "Of course, I treat my Beastie as family," Leng Ruoxua said with pride. "No wonder." Ji-yun nodded, a smile of understanding appearing on his face. Then, he changed the topic and said, "Ruoxua, since we have decided to hide here for a month, what do you think we should do?" The two of them couldn't just stare at each other for a month, could they? "Did I say I'm going to hide here?" Leng Ruoxua was speechless. "Where else would you hide? If you have a good place, then we can go together," Ji-yun said with a face full of anticipation. This place was indeed not that great, and it was very easy to be discovered. Fortunately, the person who discovered him this time was Leng Ruoxua. Otherwise, if it had been an extremely vicious person, wouldn't his little life have been lost? "I don't have a good place. I just want to find a place with people and fight with a few people I don't like. Do you want to come?" Leng Ruoxua chuckled. "Ah. Ruoxua, fighting is a barbarian's behavior. We're all well-mannered children, so we really shouldn't like to fight. Moreover, you're a girl, so you shouldn't fight." When Ji-yun heard that Leng Ruoxua was going to fight, he quickly advised her. "So you don't want to go with me? Then let's part ways here. We'll meet again," Leng Ruoxua said with her eyes half closed. After speaking, she stood up and prepared to leave. Seeing this, Ji-yun hurriedly pulled her back and said with an aggrieved expression, "You want to get rid of me again? You're so mean. You were the one who said you wouldn't go with me," Leng Ruoxua replied in a slightly aggrieved tone. "All right." He was right, she did want to get rid of this big burden. Chapter 1838, A Feud, 1, You don't have a good place to hide. Besides, it's not right to be violent to others. Tears welled up in Ji-yun's eyes as he said in an extremely aggrieved voice, "Woo, this woman is so fierce." He was so scared. It's wrong to use violence on others, but what if others use violence on us? Leng Ruoxua asked, feeling a little speechless. That's still wrong. Ji-yun lowered his head and whispered. He even peeked at Leng Ruoxua with pitiful eyes. "Do you think they'll let us go just because you said we're wrong? You're that innocent?" Leng Ruoxua rolled her eyes and asked helplessly. "We can talk about facts and reason with them." Hee hee. "That's why you didn't attack me." At the mention of this, Ji-yun's interest was piqued, and he spoke with a smug expression. "That's because I'm too lazy to make a move on you." Leng Ruoxua was a little angry. She finally realized that this fellow had the potential to make people angry. When she saw him, she wanted to beat him up even more. Good. Good. You're just too lazy to make a move on me, but that should be fine, right? Ji-yun coaxed him helplessly. When Leng Ruoxua heard his words, she didn't want to stay here for another second. Without thinking, she turned around and prepared to leave. However, Ji-yun was like a piece of sticky candy, sticking to her side and following her step by step. Seeing this, Leng Ruoxua couldn't take it anymore. She roared, "How long do you want to follow me? Don't follow me. We're partners. If I don't follow you, who should I follow?" Didn't we agree to look out for each other? How could you abandon me? After saying this, Ji-Yun's eyes began to water up slowly, as if a heavy rain was about to fall at any moment. Seeing this, Leng Ruoxia's beautiful brows furrowed. This fellow really had the ability to drive people crazy. She took a few deep breaths and suppressed her anger. You're the one who insisted on hiding here and not leaving with me. So, we've already parted ways. Well, meet again. Stop following me. With that, Leng Ruoxia quickly teleported away from the place. However, no matter where she went, there would always be a figure that followed her at the same speed. Instantly, in the vast space, only 2 rays of light as fast as meteors could be seen flashing by. After a long time, Leng Ruoxia stopped in her tracks and looked at Ji-Yun, who was panting slightly but still following closely behind her, with a gloomy expression. She shouted helplessly, "How long do you want to follow me?" They had already made a round, so how did this guy catch up to her? After going around in a circle, the two of them actually returned to their original spot. We're partners. Leng Ruoxia's fierceness caused Ji-Yun to shrink back as he spoke in fear. I'm going to find someone to fight, and you're not going. Leng Ruoxia glared at him with her beautiful eyes. Fighting is not good. Seeing Leng Ruoxia's unfriendly expression, Ji-Yun's voice grew softer and softer. I want to find someone to fight right now. What do you think I should do? Leng Ruoxia said in an unpleasant tone. The air here was already very hot-tempered, and now that she had met this guy, the anger in her heart had only grown. If she didn't find a few unlucky guys to vent her anger, then the one who would be in trouble would be this Ji-Yun in front of her. However, she definitely couldn't beat Ji-Yun up. Otherwise, if he cried, he would go crazy. Violence is not good. Ji-Yun persevered in his attempt to persuade her. However, when he saw Leng Ruoxia's eyes filled with warning, he quickly changed his words. However, it's still necessary to properly vent. Then I'm going to find someone to vent my anger on. Leng Ruoxia said with satisfaction. Although this Ji-Yun was a little abnormal, he was still quite tactful. Just based on this point, she wouldn't make things too difficult for him. After all, it wasn't easy to meet such a strange person here. After she finished speaking, Leng Ruoxia couldn't wait to slip away. Wait! Ji-Yun quickly called out to Leng Ruoxia. He gritted his teeth and said, I'll go with you. He made up his mind and went all out. Are you sure? Leng Ruoxia raised her brows and asked in disbelief. Yes. Ji-Yun nodded his head heavily and continued, I have to protect you. I don't need your protection. Leng Ruoxia rolled her eyes as she replied in an ungrateful manner. She didn't think that Ji-Yun, with his weak appearance, would be able to protect her. It was already good enough that this guy didn't drag her down. All women need men to protect them. This is what my father always says. Ji-Yun said proudly. Although he was sometimes puzzled, his father often said that women were tigers, but he also told him that men should protect women. These words seemed to be somewhat contradictory, but he did not ask for the reason. In any case, his father would never lie to him. Didn't your father tell you that some women don't need a man's protection? Leng Ruoxia didn't know what to say to that old man from the Ji family. How did he teach his son? He had actually taught a one-track-minded fellow. No, but father told me not to protect all women. I should protect those that I like. Ji-Yun said with a silly smile. His expression seemed to say, it's your honor, right? Thank you for finding me pleasing to the eye. Leng Ruoxia was completely convinced. To be honest, she didn't want to be liked by him, nor did she want to be protected by him. From her point of view, the one who needed protection was this man. However, it was a good thing that his father didn't ask him to protect all the women in the world. Otherwise, this poor fellow would have died of exhaustion. You don't have to be so polite, we're partners. Ji-Yun said in a slightly smug manner. Seeing him like this, Leng Ruoxia could only sigh and didn't want to say anything else. This fellow couldn't show him any respect, otherwise, he would definitely show off. Let's go. After they decided to leave, Ji-yoon urged them. Wait, tell me first, how did you catch up to me? He asked. Leng Ruoxue couldn't understand. According to common sense, it wasn't easy for someone to catch up to her when she teleported. After all, it was hard to determine the coordinates. However, this fellow was still chasing after her. This made her rather depressed because she couldn't get rid of him. Hee hee. This is a secret technique of our family. Ji-yoon said mysteriously, but with a hint of pride. He can catch up to everyone? Leng Ruoxue asked with interest. No, it's hard to track someone who is much stronger than you. Ji-yoon spoke the truth. In truth, in his opinion, their clan's tracking technique was of little value. This was because this technique could only track down people who were not much weaker than him. If it could track everyone, then this secret technique would truly be a priceless treasure. To think that the elders in his family were so smug. He pursed his lips and sighed in his heart. Fortunately, the ancestors of the Ji family didn't know what their descendants were thinking. Otherwise, they would be depressed to death. And the ancestor who created this secret technique would be so angry that he would climb out of hell to settle the score with him. That old ancestor had already died. Chapter 1839, A Feud, 2, I see. Hearing Ji-yoon's words, Leng Ruoxue's interest diminished. Ruoxue, shall we go? Seeing that Leng Ruoxue didn't seem too happy, Ji-yoon cautiously asked. Let's go. Leng Ruoxue nodded. She had long wanted to leave this place. If she had not met this fellow, she would not have wasted so much time here. Yes, yes. Ji-yoon hastily nodded his head. After making up his mind to leave this place, he was much calmer and no longer so conflicted. After that, the two of them left together. After getting along for a few days, Leng Ruoxue deeply regretted being together with this fellow. Not only was this fellow a chatterbox, he was also a coward. She had chosen a few paths, but this fellow refused to take them. He even insisted that she follow him and had him lead the way. The consequence of following him was that the more they walked, the more desolate the place became. Like the place they were at now, it was a boundless desert without even a single green spot. If it wasn't for the fact that she understood this fellow, and that Qing-ju had read his mind and knew that he was not in danger, Leng Ruoxue would have suspected that this fellow had brought her here on purpose. Ji-yoon fearfully looked at Leng Ruoxue's unsightly expression and muttered, This place is okay, but there shouldn't be anyone here. After saying this, he immediately lowered his head, not daring to look at Leng Ruoxue's slightly darkened face. Is this the consequence of you leading the way? Leng Ruoxue said through gritted teeth. If it wasn't for this fellow's pitiful look that made her unable to ruthlessly destroy the flower, she would definitely let him know why the flower was so red. Actually, I'm bad with directions, but my instinct tells me that this place is very safe. Ji-yoon's neck shrunk as he said. Woo. Ruoxue was being fierce to him again. However, he had been fierce to her a lot recently, and he had gotten used to it. Moreover, if Ruoxue didn't scold him fiercely every day, he wouldn't be used to it. I can't even see a tree, how can it be unsafe? Leng Ruoxue roared in anger. That's not for sure, but this place is definitely safe. Ji-yoon mumbled to himself in a low voice, Woo. A place without trees might not be safe. If the enemy comes, there's no place to hide. Don't tell me you're thinking of staying here for another month. When Leng Ruoxue heard his words, she asked suspiciously. Hee. How could that be? A few drops of cold sweat hung on Ji-yoon's forehead as he said with a silly smile. Actually, he really did have this thought. However, he didn't dare to say it out loud. Otherwise, Ruoxue would definitely be even angrier. If that's the case, let's leave this damn place quickly. Looking at the vast, bare desert in front of her, she really didn't want to stay a second longer. She wasn't a camel, how could she like this kind of place? Ruoxue, this place is really not bad. Ji-yoon still wanted to persuade Leng Ruoxue, but when he saw the warning look in her eyes, he obediently shut his mouth and swallowed all the words he wanted to say. Not bad, you can stay here alone. Leng Ruoxue said in a bad mood. After she finished speaking, she ignored him. Her beautiful eyes scanned the surroundings, trying to find a suitable way out. As far as the eye could see, the yellow sand, coupled with the dark red sky, made people unable to feel happy. Don't. Ruoxue, you're thinking of abandoning me again. Woo. Why am I so pitiful? Ji Yun said pitifully. He even pretended to wipe away the tears at the corner of his eyes while he peeked at Leng Ruoxue's reaction from the corner of his eyes. Why are you so pitiful? Seeing him acting pitiful again, Leng Ruoxue was so angry that she almost cursed out loud. Luckily, she managed to hold it in the end. Otherwise, it would affect her image. You always want to abandon me. Ji Yun said in an aggrieved voice. You're the one who's too unmotivated. Leng Ruoxue spoke the truth. This fellow was always thinking of hiding and even said that he would lead the way for her. However, he was not going to take the right path at all. How infuriating. I'm sure, Ji Yun explained in a soft voice. Good. Do you know what practice is? Then do you want to stay here until the end of the competition? Leng Ruoxue said. This fellow's thoughts were too easy to guess. Even with her eyes closed, she knew what he was up to. No, I'll follow you wherever you go. I'm following you. When Ji Yun heard the danger in these words, he hurriedly expressed his position. Then come with me. Leng Ruoxue didn't waste any words and spoke directly. She knew very well that if she couldn't clear things up with him, this fellow would just be a pain in the ass. Oh. Ji Yun lowered his head and replied. Then, he followed behind Leng Ruoxue like a little wife, walking at a steady pace. Seeing this, Leng Ruoxue could not help but roar, can you walk faster? If we move slowly, when will we be able to leave this desert? He really couldn't understand how there could be a desert here. It didn't match the appearance of this special space. I'm hungry. Ji Yun said as he walked. Seeing him in this state, Leng Ruoxue was roaring in her heart. Why did these words sound so familiar? Oh, that's right, this was what the little fire wolf always said. Ji Yun's current appearance was exactly the same as the little fire wolf. Could it be that they were brothers? Otherwise, how could they be so similar? She was very suspicious of this. Ruoxue, can you eat something before you leave? I'm about to starve to death. Ji Yun said with a bitter face. Don't worry, you won't starve to death even if you don't eat. Leng Ruoxue glanced at Ji Yun as she reminded him. Food is the most important thing to the people. If we don't eat, we'll definitely die. Ji Yun did not agree with Leng Ruoxue's words. You're a god now. Have you ever seen a god starve to death because they don't eat? Leng Ruoxue suppressed her anger and asked. I will. Ji Yun said. After he finished speaking, he hurriedly shifted a few steps to the side, afraid that Leng Ruoxue would beat him up in a fit of anger. This was because Ruoxue had used this to threaten him a few times before, and he was deeply aware of it. If you can, then why are you hiding? Leng Ruoxue could not help but laugh. There was nothing she could do to him. I'm afraid you'll beat me up. Ji Yun was very honest and told her everything that was on his mind. His clear eyes were also looking at Leng Ruoxue with vigilance. I won't beat you up. Leng Ruoxue smiled warmly as she promised. There was no sense of accomplishment in beating this fellow up. More importantly, she felt that even if she beat him up, it wouldn't solve any problems because this fellow was not a person with a normal mind. Really? Ji Yun asked, his eyes wide. Yes, come over. Leng Ruoxue coaxed. Then you're not allowed to lie to me. Ji Yun was still worried. I'm not lying to you. Leng Ruoxue nodded her head seriously once more. At this moment, Ji Yun's expression was like a puppy trying to please its master. How could she bear to do this? Then I'll come over. As Ji Yun spoke, he moved towards Leng Ruoxue's side. Just as he moved to her side, Len Ruoxue grabbed him. In an instant, Ji Yun's face turned pale with fright. His entire body trembled like a fallen leaf in the autumn wind. Woo! He seemed to have been tricked. Chapter 1840, A Feud, 3, Why Are You Shaking? Len Ruoxue could not help but laugh when she saw his reaction. You lied to me, Ji Yun said in an extremely aggrieved tone. His clear eyes began to water again. I'm not going to beat you up. Len Ruoxue was speechless. Oh. Then why are you pulling me? Ji Yun didn't understand. From his point of view, Ruoxue was just angry out of embarrassment and wanted to vent her anger on him. You're walking too slowly. I can walk faster if I drag you along. After Len Ruoxue finished speaking, she took out a rope and tied it around Ji Yun's wrist. She held the other end of the rope in her hand. There's no need to do this, right? Ji Yun said somewhat gloomily. If he kept him tied up like this, he would have bad thoughts. I need it. I'll give you two choices now. Either we part ways, or I'll take you with me. Len Ruoxue laughed evilly. When she saw Ji Yun's face turn red and white, she was in a good mood and spoke in a much friendlier manner. It's better for you to hold on to me. Forced by Len Ruoxue's tyrannical abuse, Ji Yun had to admit defeat. That's a good girl. Len Ruoxue extended her hand and patted Ji Yun's head as if she was petting a puppy. She was just short of giving him a bone to chew on. Ji Yun was praised by Ruoxue, but he couldn't bring himself to be happy. This wasn't what he had imagined. At the thought of this, Ji Yun pouted and said with an aggrieved expression, Ruoxue, even though you can walk faster by holding me, I'm a man after all. You should at least give me some face, right? If my Ji clansmen were to see me like this, it would be very embarrassing. You're also afraid of losing face? Len Ruoxue was very surprised, but she had no intention of letting him go. Instead, she continued, don't worry. This place is so big that we might not be able to touch your Ji family. What if we run into them? Ji Yun shamelessly asked. Then I can only say that you're too unlucky. Len Ruoxue's words carried a hint of sympathy, but the expression on her face revealed that she was gloating over his misfortune. AI. After hearing Len Ruoxue's words, no matter how stupid Ji Yun was, he knew that Len Ruoxue would never let go of him. Hence, he could only accept his fate. Sob. He hoped that he would not meet anyone he knew. Otherwise, he would really lose all his face. Seeing that he had accepted his fate, Len Ruoxue smiled in satisfaction. Then, she pulled him towards the path that she had chosen. Even though that path was also covered by yellow sand, it was more pleasing to the eye than the other paths. Thus, Len Ruoxue pulled Ji Yun along and walked over. The two of them walked on the soft yellow sand for an unknown amount of time. Just as they were about to walk out of the desert, they suddenly heard the sound of fighting not far away. Len Ruoxue's face lit up with joy, while Ji Yun's heart sank. What I'm afraid of is coming true. I didn't expect there to be a fight here. He stole a glance at Len Ruoxue and prayed that she would not be a busybody so that the two of them could quickly leave this place. Oh. It wasn't that he was timid, it was just that he was too lazy and didn't like to cause trouble. He was trying to find a reasonable excuse for himself. Let's take a look over there. Len Ruoxue clearly did not hear the prayers in Ji Yun's heart. Her tone was firm, and she did not allow Ji Yun to refuse. Ruoxue, that's not a good place. Let's not go there. Let's go another way. Ji Yun's heart trembled. Woo, what was he afraid of? He was clearly trying to avoid the participants, but he just had to bump into them here, and in the middle of a fight. If you don't want to exchange, well, go over there. If you don't, Len Ruoxue said with a faint smile. However, she only said half of what she wanted to say. As for the other half, she believed that Ji Yun would understand. It's not that I don't want to go, I'm just afraid of getting caught in the crossfire. They're having a good time, so it's not good for us to interfere, right? Ji Yun said in a low voice, not very confident. Who said I'm going to interfere? I just want to take a look. What if it's someone I know? Well, be able to help out when the time comes. Leng Ruoxue spoke the truth. They could help each other here, and this was not against the rules of the competition. If it's not someone we know, then let's leave immediately, okay? Seeing that Leng Ruoxue had already made up her mind, Ji Yun could only talk about the conditions. Good. As long as they don't attack us, we'll leave immediately. Leng Ruoxue agreed. Then let's go and take a look. With Leng Ruoxue's assurance, Ji Yun was at ease. The two of them lowered their footsteps and cautiously walked towards the vicinity of the battle. Not far from them, there was a huge tree that blocked their view of the battle. Thus, Leng Ruoxue and Ji Yun hid behind the tree and observed the battle. At this time, there were a total of 5 people in the chaotic battle. It was obvious that there were 2 groups of people because 2 of them were wearing the same clothes, and the other 3 were also wearing the same clothes. Ji Wu, Ji Tao. Just as Leng Ruoxue was carefully observing the strength of these 2 groups, Ji Yun, who was beside her, suddenly called out softly. When Leng Ruoxue heard this, she couldn't help but turn her head and look at him with slight surprise. You know them? Ah. I know 2 of them. The 2 in white are from the Ji family, and the other 3 in gray are the competitors from the Zhou family. Ji Yun's expression was grave as he explained. His originally clear as water eyes grew even deeper. Since we're family, why don't you hurry up and help? Leng Ruoxue saw that although Ji Yun's expression had turned serious, he did not move at all. She couldn't help but remind him. There's no hurry. Let's see how the situation goes first. Ji Yun had suddenly become calm and collected. This caused Leng Ruoxue to cast a sidelong glance at him. She had never thought that Ji Yun would have such a serious side to him. However, if Ji Yun knew what she was thinking, he would definitely be depressed to death. This was because in Leng Ruoxue's eyes, Ji Yun was not a normal person. Ji Yun, why aren't you wearing the clothes those 2 were wearing? Leng Ruoxue asked curiously after sizing up the 2 people in white. From the day she saw Ji Yun, he had always been dressed in black. Why do I have to be like them? Ji Yun said matter-of-factly. Ah. Ji Yun's words caused Leng Ruoxue to regret her previous thoughts. Ji Yun was still the same Ji Yun she knew. He had not changed at all. She must have been seeing things before, that's why she felt that Ji Yun had changed into a different person. What's wrong? Am I wrong? Ji Yun looked at Leng Ruoxue and asked cautiously. Right. You're right, but if you don't hurry up and save your clansmen, I'm afraid they'll have to stay here forever. From the corner of her eyes, Leng Ruoxue could see that the 2 men in white were showing signs of exhaustion. Their divine power was obviously running low as well, so she quickly reminded them. I'll go now. When Ji Yun heard this, he immediately felt his heart heat up and spoke with a high-spirited manner. After he finished speaking, he requested Leng Ruoxue to untie the rope. Then, he strode towards the few people who were fighting valiantly and in high spirits. All of you, stop! Ji Yun shouted loudly as he walked to the side of the 5 people in the chaotic battle. When they heard this sudden voice, all 5 of them were stunned and involuntarily stopped fighting. However, when they saw that the person who stopped them was Ji Yun, the people on the gray-clothed man's side were immediately enraged. I was wondering who was acting like a big shot here. So you're a coward from the Ji family. The leading gray-robed man sneered. With that, the 3 other gray-robed men burst into laughter. Clearly, they did not place Ji Yun in their eyes. Zhou Kun. You better watch your mouth. Shut up. Ji Wu reprimanded Zhou Kun while Ji Yun stood by the side heartlessly, not taking Zhou Kun's words seriously at all. What's wrong? Did I say something wrong? This Ji Yun is a famous coward of your Ji clan, and to think that your clansmen are still so protective of him. If he was a member of our Zhou clan, we would have kicked him out long ago. Our clan doesn't need such trash. Zhou Kun's face was filled with undisguised contempt, while the three members of the Zhou family who were standing together laughed even more wildly. Shut your stinky mouth. Zhou Kun, if I don't beat the three of you up until your parents can't recognize you, I'll write the word G backward. Ji Tao roared with a fiery temper. He was so angry that his eyes were bloodshot. If he could, he really wanted to rush up and bite the three people from the Zhou family a few times and trample them under his feet. After all, the Zhou family had been the Ji family's archenemy for many years. The two families had always been at each other's throats. Now that they had met here, it was impossible for them to let the other party go. All right. Then you can write the word G backwards. Brothers, if the word G is reversed, is it still a word? Ha ha ha. Zhou Kun laughed smugly, while the other two members of the Zhou family also laughed wildly in cooperation. In their eyes, the three people from the Ji family were like arrows at the end of their flight and were not worth mentioning at all. Ji Yun was a useless coward who had always been timid and afraid of trouble. On the other hand, Ji Wu and Ji Tao's physical strength and divine power had almost been exhausted by the three of them. They were not their opponents at all. Therefore, it could be said that Zhou Kun and the other two people were completely fearless. Zhou Kun, don't be smug too early. Ji Wu's handsome face was flushed red. He was also quite angry. So what if I'm proud? Our young master Kun has the right to be proud. The person beside Zhou Kun said with a fawning look on his face. That's right. If your Ji family is tactful, quickly send Ji Min to our Zhou family to be young Master Kun's concubine. If our two families can become in-laws, young Master Kun can take care of you in the future. As for that coward, don't even think about it. The other person also laughed wretchedly. Chapter 1841, You Have to Protect Me. 1. The Ji Min this person was talking about was the eldest daughter of the Ji family. Not only was Ji Min beautiful, but she also had outstanding qualifications. She was also a leader among the younger generation of the Ji family. More importantly, she was Ji Yun's biological sister and doted on Ji Yun. It was precisely because of this that Zhou Kun hated Ji Yun even more. Zhou Kun couldn't understand why such a talented person would love a useless coward so much. He couldn't help but feel envy, jealousy, and hatred. In addition, he had once asked for Ji Min's hand in marriage but was rejected. As a result, as long as he found an opportunity, he would find trouble with the Ji family, especially with Ji Yun. Now that Ji Yun had taken the initiative to come to his door, he naturally wouldn't let go of this good opportunity. For the purpose of revenge and humiliation, Zhou Kun, who originally intended to make Ji Min his wife, always mentioned that he wanted Ji Min to be his concubine when he mentioned this matter to outsiders or the Ji family. Every time he saw the Ji family's furious and uncontrollable expressions, Zhou Kun could only describe it with one word: pleasure. Speaking of which, he was quite perverted in his heart. The reason why he was like this was because he had been rejected too many times. What made him even angrier was that Ji Min's reason for rejecting him was that she thought he was too rough. However, he knew that this was just an excuse. The real reason why Ji Min rejected him was all because of the useless coward Ji Yun. Because her younger brother needed protection, as an older sister, Ji Min naturally couldn't easily get married. However, that was only Zhou Kun's personal opinion. Apart from Ji Yun, Ji Min was unwilling to marry Zhou Kun because their families were at odds with each other. They were like enemies. With such a relationship, even if she had a good impression of Zhou Kun, it was impossible for her to marry him. Moreover, she did not like Zhou Kun, which was the most important reason. Upon hearing what the Zhou family member said, the short-tempered Ji Tao was indeed enraged. Damn it, I dare you to say that again. Ji Tao's face was red as he roared in anger. If it wasn't for Ji Wu holding him back, he would have already rushed forward and beat this guy up. What's wrong? Quickly send Ji Min to young Master Kun's bed and make her his concubine. From now on, your Ji family will be under young Master Kun's protection. Your useless coward is unreliable, haha. The man provoked him fearlessly. As soon as he finished speaking, 2 more arrogant laughs were heard. Needless to say, they were Zhou Kun and another member of the Zhou family. Zhou Kun, who was standing at the side, felt extremely pleased when he saw his family members humiliating the Ji family members. Although the 2 of them had decent qualifications, they were both from the Zhou family's collateral branch. If they wanted to stand out in the Zhou family, they naturally had to please him. After all, he was not only a direct member of the Zhou family, but he might even become the future head of the Zhou family. Therefore, he was very satisfied with their flattery. He was also willing to give some guidance to such a discerning person. "You're looking for death." Ji Tao saw that the fellow really dared to speak, so he immediately broke free from Ji Wu's hand and was about to rush forward to teach him a lesson. However, he was stopped by Ji Yun. "Stop!" Ji Yun shouted. His face was calm and emotionless, making it impossible to tell whether he was happy or angry. When Ji Tao heard Ji Yun's words, he really did stop and turned to look at Ji Yun with a slightly aggrieved expression. "They humiliated Sister Min. We can't let them off," Ji Tao reminded. "I know, but we're all well-mannered people, so we really shouldn't act rashly. Let's sit down and have a good talk. Let's see how this matter can be resolved." After hearing his words, Zhou Kun and the other 2 could not help but laugh wildly again. Watch. This was the guy that the Ji family had high hopes for. He was just so useless. He never dared to have a direct conflict with others. He always wanted to be the peacemaker and reason with others. Humph. In the divine realm, the strong were respected. One's fist was the only way to speak. Whoever had the tougher fist would naturally have the greater right to speak. Someone like Ji Yun was simply an anomaly. Zhou Kun thought to himself in disdain. What's so funny? Am I wrong? Ji Yun said with a confused expression. He was so innocent that he didn't seem to know what they were laughing about. Right, my ass. Who wants to sit down and chat with you? It's embarrassing for us to sit with you. Zhou Kun looked down on Ji Yun at all, but he was extremely jealous of how much Ji Yun was doted on in the Ji family. Therefore, he would rather be beaten to death than sit down and talk with Ji Yun. Was that what a man should do? Young master. Don't bother with this kind of uncouth person, it's only disgracing our Ji family by talking to him. At this moment, Ji Wu, who was standing beside Ji Yun, spoke out. From his tone, it seemed as if he was quite doting on Ji Yun. That's right, this kind of person doesn't deserve to live in this world. It'll only lower our class if we lower ourselves to their level. Ji Tao, who had calmed down, was afraid that Ji Yun's self-esteem would be hurt, so he quickly comforted him. At this moment, he could not care about the dispute with the Zhou family. Fuck. What did you say? Ji Wu and Ji Tao's words made Zhou Kun so angry that he roared loudly. He couldn't bear it anymore. He couldn't understand what Ji Yun had done to deserve the protection of the Ji family. It must be known that a useless coward like Ji Yun would belong to the abandoned category in any clan. However, Ji Yun was the exact opposite. Not only was he loved by the elders of his family, but his fellow clansmen of the same generation also took extra care of him. If anyone were to see how the fellow clansmen of the Ji clan took care of Ji Yun, they would probably go crazy. At least, he was going crazy. We said you're trash and don't deserve to live in this world. Ji Tao said with a faint smile. He's the trash, okay? Zhou Kun pointed at Ji Yun angrily and roared, fuck. Was there any justice left in this world? The biggest piece of trash was right in front of them, but the Ji family turned a blind eye to it. Our young master is 100 times stronger than you. You don't deserve to be mentioned in the same breath as him. He's not even worthy of carrying his shoes. Ji Tao also said in disdain. Yes, young Master Kun, you are not even qualified to be a servant in our Ji family. The first and foremost rule of our Ji family's servants is loyalty. You can't. Ji Wu said in a matter-of-fact manner. Ji Yun, on the other hand, still had a confused look on his face, as if he couldn't understand what they were talking about. Len Ruoxue, who was hiding behind a giant tree, heard the conversation between the two parties. She then looked at Ji Yun's reaction and didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Isn't this Ji Yun's reaction a little too slow? However, his temper was really good and he was also patient. She was already pointing at him and scolding him, but he still acted as if nothing had happened. She did not know what he was thinking. Although she was a little curious, she did not let Qing Ju read Jaiyun's mind. After all, it was better to keep some secrets. When she thought of this, she decided to continue closing her eyes. She would only reveal herself when she was needed. Right now, she only hoped that Ji Yun would give her some strength so that no one could bully him. Chapter 1842, You Have to Protect Me, too. At the same time, Zhou Kun, who heard Ji Wu's words, became even more furious. Fuck. I dare you to say that again. Zhou Kun pointed at Ji Wu and couldn't help but wonder why the Ji family was so annoying. Although the two families had been enemies for generations, most of the time, they could still live in peace. After all, even if the two families were like fire and water, they couldn't fight each other every day. Most of the things they did were to drag each other down. However, for some reason, whenever he saw Ji Yun, he couldn't control his temper and wanted to get angry. I said you're not even fit to be a servant in our Ji family. Do you hear me now? Ji Wu repeated helplessly. He looked at Zhou Kun with eyes full of sympathy, as if he was saying, poor fellow, you can't understand human language. You're looking for death. Zhou Kun narrowed his eyes and said in an unfriendly tone. You're wrong, I haven't lived long enough. Why would you seek death? Ji Wu disagreed with Zhou Kun's words. However, in the next second, Zhou Kun attacked Ji Wu at lightning speed. In an instant, a palm wind with a blue light appeared in front of Ji Wu. Ji Wu hurriedly dodged, but the palm wind still brushed past his body and left a deep bloody mark on his arm. A trace of red blood flowed down from the wound. After gently wiping the blood off his arm, Ji Wu squinted his eyes and looked at Zhou Kun. This fellow's strength was already above theirs, and Zhou Kun was a typical nouveau riche. Therefore, he had an unimaginable number of medicinal pills on him. This also made them, who were originally slightly weaker, have no advantage at all. Unless a miracle appeared now, they were afraid that they would not be able to defeat Zhou Kun. What should they do? He knew very well that even if he and Ji Tao were to die here, nothing could happen to Ji Yun. After all, Ji Yun was the hope of all the members of the Ji family. However, under Zhou Kun's covetous gaze, it would not be easy for them to protect Ji Yun. At this moment, his mind turned and countless plans formed in his mind, but they were all rejected because none of them was the best solution for them at this time. Young master, Ji Tao, and I will think of a way to hold Zhou Kun back later. You should run quickly and find a good place to hide. Don't let them find you, understand? Ji Wu transmitted his voice to Ji Yun as if he was coaxing a child. At this moment, they could only stake everything on this method. Although the success rate of this method was very low, they still had to try. I'm here to help you, why are you making me run? I'll lose a lot of face like this. Ji Yun said unhappily. Hiding was one thing, but backing out at the last minute was another. Furthermore, running away in front of the Zhou family made him feel extremely uncomfortable. Young master. How can you be so calculative now? Staying alive is the most important thing, be good. When we start fighting, you should run immediately. Ji Wu continued to coax Ji Yun. Although he was helpless against Ji Yun's stubbornness, he still had to coax him away. No need to run, I have help. A faint smile appeared on Ji Yun's lips as he confidently replied. Ah! Where did he get help from? Ji Wu was astonished. I met her here. We've always been traveling together. Ji Yun transmitted his voice to Ji Wu in a somewhat tsundere manner. Is he reliable? Ji Wu was a bit worried. He knew very well how reclusive Ji-yun was, but he didn't expect that Ji-yun would actually make friends here. Don't worry, I'm absolutely reliable. Ji-yun solemnly promised. Will he be willing to help us? If he helps us, he will offend the Zhou family, and the Zhou family will not let him off. Ji-woo asked worriedly. He wasn't as open-minded as Ji-yun. Although the Zhou family couldn't be compared to the 8 great divine regions, it was still one of the top powers among the many top powers. Anyone who came to participate in the elite competition had their own family. It was very difficult for others to be willing to offend another family for the sake of another family. Unless the 2 families were in an alliance, who would be willing to help you so easily? Other than that, once he owed someone a favor here, he would have to pay a huge price to pay it back. Therefore, unless he had no other choice, he was not willing to ask for help. Don't worry, she'll definitely be willing to help us. Although she looks a little fierce, after getting along with her for a few days, I know that she's just a person with a sharp mouth but a soft heart. She won't leave us in the lurch. Ji-yun said with absolute certainty. Seeing how confident Ji-yun was, Ji-woo didn't think much of the friend he spoke of. However, he didn't want to pour cold water on Ji-yun's head, for fear of hurting his self-esteem. So, he could only suppress the thoughts in his heart and not attack him. Seeing that Ji-woo didn't seem to believe him, Ji-yun decided to go all out and shout at the top of his voice, Ruoshue. Someone is bullying me. Woo-woo, seeing Ji-yun's reaction, Ji-woo and Ji-tao's foreheads couldn't help but be filled with black lines. How could this be possible? Ugh! Would that person be angry? If it were them, they would definitely regret befriending Ji-yun. Fortunately, they were already used to it. At this moment, Leng Ruoshue, who was hiding behind a tree and watching the commotion, heard Ji-yun calling out to her. She was so angry that her lungs were about to explode. Damn it, previously he refused to come here no matter what. Now, he's calling out to me at the top of his voice. What the hell is going on? Leng Ruoshue, who was a little angry, made up her mind that she could not go out like this. Thus, she ignored Ji-yun's cry. Yo! You actually have a helper. I really couldn't tell that you had this kind of ability. Zhou Kun, who heard Ji-yun's shout, did not get angry, which was rare. He did not attack either. Instead, he started teasing him. However, seeing that the person Ji-yun called out to did not respond for a long time, Zhou Kun sneered and said, "It seems that your gang is quite timid, like a tortoise who doesn't dare to show his head. You're the coward, your whole family is a coward." Upon hearing that Zhou Kun had the audacity to scold Ruoshue, Ji-yun was immediately enraged. Wah! A coward actually dared to curse. Is the sky going to rain red? Upon hearing Ji-yun's scolding, Zhou Kun laughed instead of getting angry. Seeing how angry Ji-yun was, Ji-woo and Ji-tao widened their eyes in disbelief. This was truly too rare. So what if I scold you? I'm going to beat you up. Ji-yun shouted. He was furious, and the consequences would be severe. Zhou Kun and the others, as well as Ji-woo and Ji-tao, were all stunned. They looked at Ji-yun in disbelief. What are you looking at? I'm talking about you. Ji-yun pointed at Zhou Kun and reprimanded him in an unusual manner. Coward. All right. Your temper is rising. Zhou Kun chuckled with a faint smile and looked at Ji-yun with an unfriendly gaze. After he finished speaking, he approached Ji-yun step by step. Seeing this, Ji-yun's face was filled with fear as he shouted, "What do you want to do? I'm warning you, don't you dare mess around. Otherwise, my comrades will not let you off." He had once again used Leng Ruoshue as a shield. When Leng Ruoshue, who was behind the tree, heard his words, she felt like strangling him. Chapter 1843, You Have to Protect Me, 3, That Damned Ji-yun. Leng Ruoshue secretly gritted her teeth and added another crime to Ji-yun's name. Ji-woo and Ji-tao, who were standing guard beside Ji-yun, did not know whether to laugh or cry when they heard that Ji-yun had actually ignored their existence and directly threatened Jo-kun with the companion that he had never met before. Although the two of them were not as powerful as Jo-kun, they were still much stronger than the other two people around Jo-kun, right? How could Ji-yun so blatantly ignore the two of them? This caused the two of them to feel extremely disgruntled. Now, they were even more curious about the companions that Ji-yun spoke of. Oh, really? Why don't you ask him to come out? I'd like to see who would have the guts to go against our Zhou family so openly. Ji-yun's words made Jo-kun feel even more smug. Moreover, he was very certain that Ji-yun was lying to him. The person he mentioned was not there at all. Otherwise, why had that person not appeared all this while? Ruoshue. Help me. Someone is bullying me. Jo-kun's words made Ji-yun scream again. This time, his voice was even more hoarse and exhausted than the previous time. It sounded as if he had really been tortured miserably by someone. Unfortunately, he was now unscathed, and Jo-kun teased him like he was teasing a clown. When she heard Ji-yun's shouts, Len Ruoshue could no longer bear it and walked out from behind the tree. She could tell that if she was not called out, Ji-yun would definitely not let this matter rest. The moment Len Ruoshue came out, Ji-yun looked as if he had seen his savior. His face was full of grievance and his clear eyes were filled with tears. He pitifully ran to Len Ruoshue, wanting to throw himself into her arms and cry. Unfortunately, Len Ruoshue nimbly dodged him. Furthermore, when he wanted to pounce on Len Ruoshue again, he unfortunately caught a glimpse of Len Ruoxue's warning gaze. He could only change his pounce to a pull, and the first thing he did was naturally Len Ruoxue's sleeve. When Len Ruoshue saw Ji-yun's pitiful look, more and more black lines appeared on her forehead. Her beautiful face turned even uglier. She heaved a heavy sigh. She sighed in her heart. Ji-yun. Did he have to be so exaggerated? She didn't even touch a single strand of his hair, all right? Although she had said some words to provoke him, Ji-yun didn't seem to be too angry. It seemed like he was already used to it. However, Ji-yun's current state. Len Ruoshue didn't know what to say. She sized up Ji-yun with a hint of surprise on her face. Was this the Ji-yun who had promised to protect her? Why did he ask her to protect him instead? Ruoshue, don't look at me like that. I'll be shy. Seeing Len Ruoxue's eyes fixed on him, Ji-yun said softly. His handsome face was also dyed with a faint pink. Len Ruoshue was speechless. After a long while, she said, then you can slowly be shy. Ruoshue, now is not the time to be shy. Someone is going to bully me. You have to protect me. Ji-yun pitifully replied after hearing Len Ruoxue's words. I remember you said you would protect me. Len Ruoshue reminded him with a calm tone. Of course I will protect you, but you have to protect me first. They're too fierce, I'm scared. Ji-yun emphasized as he looked at Len Ruoshue expectantly. His eyes were as bright as obsidian and as clear as a puppy trying to please its master. He was innocent and pure. I'm afraid too, what should I do? Len Ruoshue looked at Ji-yun with an innocent expression. Ha ha ha. Beauty, don't be afraid. I won't hurt you. Although you're Ji-yun's friend, I, Master Kun, have always known to have tender and protective feelings for women. Don't worry. I'll love you well. Before Ji-yun could answer Len Ruoxue's question, Jo-kun interrupted impatiently. Fuck. This beauty was really too beautiful, so beautiful that it was unbelievable. She was so beautiful that even the flowers that were competing for beauty lost their color. Compared to the beauty in front of him, Ji-min and the others had long been thrown to the back of his mind. Originally, he wanted to get Ji-min because she was pretty and her family background was good enough for him. However, now that he had met Len Ruoshue, Ji-min no longer piqued his interest. At this moment, Len Ruoshue was the only person in Jo-kun's heart and eyes. Not only Jo-kun, but Ji-woo and Ji-tao's eyes also lit up the moment they saw Len Ruoshue. They were stunned. However, they were puzzled as to how Ji-yun had gotten to know such a beautiful woman. His luck was indeed invincible. What if I say that I don't need your love? Leng Ruoxue smiled faintly, like a flower in spring that bloomed, almost blinding everyone's eyes. Women. It's your honor that our young master Kun has taken a liking to you. If you know what's good for you, then obediently come into our young master Kun's arms and be his concubine. I guarantee that you'll live a good life. Without waiting for Zhou Kun's reaction, one of his lackeys started reprimanding Leng Ruoxue in an attempt to please her. Moreover, he even arranged an identity for her and made her Zhou Kun's concubine. Idiot! How could such a beautiful young lady be a concubine? No matter what, she should be an equal wife. Zhou Kun was very displeased with the lackey's words. At the same time, he was also afraid that Leng Ruoxue would be angry. After all, as long as a woman was beautiful, unless they had no other choice, they would not be willing to be someone else's concubine. More importantly, the participants who were able to participate in the elite competition all had their own families. What if they made a fool of themselves by saying such words before they had even figured out Leng Ruoxue's background? Following that, he smiled and fawned over Leng Ruoxue, hee. Miss, please don't listen to his nonsense. He's stupid. You don't know how to speak, so please forgive me if I've offended you. Zhou Kun pretended to be a gentleman, a model of an elegant and graceful young master. However, Ji Wu and Ji Tao scoffed at his pretense. Why are you acting? Can you still put on an act? This is what you're good at. Ji Tao said with a smile. It seemed that Zhou Kun had taken a liking to this woman. In fact, this was also good. At least, in this way, he would not have any ideas about Sister Min. However, it seemed that he would be letting down the lady who had been dragged into the water by Ji-yun. You shut up. This is a matter between me and this young lady, and it has nothing to do with your Ji family. You can stand aside. Zhou Kun roared at Ji Tao furiously. He regretted not killing the three of them just now. If that was the case, there wouldn't be an eyesore between him and Leng Ruoxue. This young lady is our young master's friend. How could she not be related to our Ji family? Ji Wu reminded with a smile. Humph. Killing you guys will have nothing to do with you. A hint of ruthlessness flashed in Zhou Kun's eyes as he said fiercely. If you have the ability, then kill me. Ji Tao said unhappily. Anyway, it was already like this. As the saying goes, a dead pig is not afraid of boiling water, so they really were not afraid. Don't think that I won't dare to kill you. Zhou Kun narrowed his eyes and said coldly. You come and kill me. Who's afraid of you? Ji Tao taunted. It was allowed to kill people here. If the other party dared to kill them, he would naturally have to be aware that he would be killed by others. Moreover, the Ji family was not the only enemy of the Zhou family. Are you guys done quarreling? At this moment, Leng Ruoxue, who had been neglected, asked speechlessly as she watched the two groups of people quarreling in full swing. She really had to hand it to these people. They did not even ask for her opinion and just started quarreling on their own. Furthermore, they took it for granted. We're not quarreling, we're just trying to reason. Upon hearing that Leng Ruoxue seemed to be a little displeased, Zhou Kun quickly smiled and said gently. When Leng Ruoxue heard these words, she could not help but wipe the cold sweat off her forehead. She thought to herself, this fellow is actually being reasonable now. Could it be that he wanted to follow in Ji-yun's footsteps? She sized Zhou Kun up carefully. Although he looked decent, he did not have Ji-yun's innate potential to be the submissive one. The expression on his face was a little fierce, making it difficult for people to pity him. She concluded. It would be strange if they didn't quarrel. We were fighting just now, and we almost lost our lives. Ji Tao exposed Zhou Kun's lie rudely. He was not a member of the Zhou family, so he naturally did not have to give Zhou Kun any face. Moreover, this young lady was not a fool. She would not lie to him. I saw it. Len Ruoxua nodded affirmatively. After hearing Len Ruoxua's words, Zhou Kun naturally could not deny it and could only look at her awkwardly with a silly smile. Then, Len Ruoxua changed the topic and said, "Did you just say that you want me to be your equal wife?" When she heard this before, she wanted to express her opinion, but unfortunately, he didn't give her a chance. Now that the initiative was in her hands, she had to ask. A common wife is also a concubine. Ji Tao looked at Zhou Kun with a faint smile and reminded him. Seeing that Ji Tao had ruined his plan, Zhou Kun gritted his teeth in hatred. However, in order to leave a good impression on Len Ruoxua, he held back his anger. After he got this beauty, he would settle the score with the 3G family members. Zhou Kun's wishful thinking was pretty good, but unfortunately, Len Ruoxua would never let him have his way. After hearing Ji Tao's words, Len Ruoxua nodded in agreement. That's right, although your idea is acceptable, it's a pity that it's a bit whimsical to think about me. This young miss will not be someone's equal wife, and will not be someone's concubine, so you should give up on that idea. Len Ruoxua's words made Zhou Kun's two lackeys feel a little embarrassed and angry. However, before the two of them could flare up, they were stopped by Zhou Kun's gaze. Chapter 1844, You Can Only Leave With Me, 1. Although Zhou Kun also hated Len Ruoxua's words, she was the woman he had taken a fancy to. Apart from him, he would not allow anyone else to criticize his woman. Moreover, he had yet to enter the Bowtie's eyes, so he naturally could not let the beauty hate him. Therefore, even if he hated Len Ruoxua for not knowing how to appreciate his kindness, it was not the time to be a man. The most important thing now was to win the Bowtie's heart. After he got this beauty, he would teach her the rules. He could only endure it for now. At the thought of this, he suppressed the hatred in his heart and smiled at Len Ruoxua. Young lad's words are reasonable. I was rude. May I know young lad's name? And which clan did he belong to? This one is willing to send someone to formally propose marriage and take young miss as my main wife. After Zhou Kun said that, he was secretly pleased with himself. He knew that there was a lot of information contained in his words, and once the other party answered him, he would be clear about her name, family, location, and other information. As for whether he would marry the beauty as his wife, it was not up to him alone. If the Bowtie's family background was comparable to his, it would naturally be no problem for him to marry her as his wife. Otherwise, he could only say that he was sorry and give her an equal wife at most. However, this could only be his own wishful thinking. Who asked him to only think about what he would do when the time came and not what Len Ruoxua would do? Putting aside the fact that Len Ruoxua would never agree to his request, even if she did, he would not be able to marry her. My surname is Leng. As for the marriage proposal, there's no need for it. I already have a fiancé. After hearing Zhou Kun's words, Len Ruoxua was speechless for a long time before she said, You have a fiancé? Who is it? Upon hearing that, Zhou Kun was instantly infuriated. Fuck. How could the woman he had his eyes on belong to someone else? He would never allow this to happen. The woman in front of him had been his possession since the first time he saw her. Now, he heard her say that she was taken. This was a fact that he could not accept. Who's related to you? Len Ruoxua asked in surprise. Her beautiful face was still filled with confusion. Of course it's related. You're the woman I like, how can you have a fiancé? I'm the only man you can have. I've decided, I'm going to fight him one-on-one. Tell him to come to me. Zhou Kun didn't want to lose and issued the challenge first. When Len Ruoxua heard Zhou Kun's unreasonable and self-righteous words, she was speechless and did not know what to say. Why is this fellow so? He seemed to be even weirder than Ji Yun. He didn't even understand the monster's situation and wanted to challenge the monster one-on-one. Wasn't this courting death? Moreover, she was very sure that if Zhou Kun really dared to come to her door, the demon would definitely not let him have an easy time. What's wrong? You don't dare to tell me. Was he afraid that his brother would beat him up? Don't worry, for your sake, I'll let him live, but the two of you must never see each other again. Otherwise, if I find out, I won't let you two go. Seeing that Leng Ruoxue did not respond for a long time, Zhou Kun thought that she was afraid. Hence, he continued to pursue the matter. This time, Leng Ruoxue was even more speechless. She didn't know how to describe her current feelings. In short, it was hard to describe them in a few words. He did not expect that he would encounter such a rare talent one after another in the few days he had been here. Moreover, Zhou Kun seemed to be even better than Ji Yun. At least, Ji Yun was not annoying, but Zhou Kun was a completely different person. Leng Ruoxue remained silent, but Ji Tao, who was not far away, could not help but burst into laughter after hearing Zhou Kun's words. Ha ha ha. Toad from the Zhou family, I really have to give it to you. Is there anyone as self-righteous as you? Nothing happened. Who do you think you are to let her cut off all contact with her fiancé? Don't tell me that all the women in the world like you. If that's what you're thinking, then I suggest you commit suicide and reincarnate as a top-grade crystal. I believe that everyone will like you then. The more Ji Tao spoke, the more he felt that his words made sense, and he laughed even more wantonly. As for Zhou Kun, after hearing Ji Tao's ridicule, he was so angry that his face turned red and white. The veins on his forehead were throbbing, and there was a faint flame dancing in the depths of his eyes. That damned Ji Tao. She actually dared to humiliate him like this. Uncle can tolerate it, but Aunt can't. Zhou Kun was filled with hatred in his heart. He clenched his fists tightly, but he was thinking about whether he should teach Ji Tao a lesson. Teach him a lesson. At the same time, he was afraid that Leng Ruoxue would have a bad impression of him, as though he was a bully who relied on his strength. However, he was going to let Ji Tao off just like that. He felt indignant. Sigh. He was so conflicted. Miss Leng, I'm very sincere towards you. After enduring silently for a long while, Zhou Kun decided to let Ji Tao off first. His main priority was to capture Leng Ruoxue. As for the 3G family's boys, they would not be able to escape sooner or later. However, it would be a grave sin to scare the beauty away. Moreover, the beauty had a fiancé of unknown origins, who was his greatest enemy. At this moment, he had already treated the demon as his love rival, but the demon was still unaware of it. Thank you for your sincerity, but I'm really not interested in you. Leng Ruoxue sighed and said straightforwardly. Woman, you're really asking for it the hard way. Our young master Kun has already said so, and you're still trying to be arrogant. Seeing that Zhou Kun couldn't handle the woman, one of his lackeys couldn't help but roar. He really felt bad for young master Kun. When had young master Kun ever been so submissive to a woman? This woman really doesn't know what's good for her. To think that young master Kun still indulges her so much. To be honest, even I can't bear to watch this anymore. So what if she was beautiful? There were many beautiful women in the divine realm. Even though this woman was prettier than the average woman, young Master Kun was not lacking in women. Hence, he could not understand why young Master Kun was so forgiving towards this woman. After all, if it was any other woman who dared to treat young Master Kun like this, young Master Kun would have already thought of a way to deal with her. If he could not deal with her, he would have to first ruin her reputation. Otherwise, it would be difficult to vent his hatred. AI. Why doesn't anyone believe the truth these days? Leng Ruoxue mumbled to herself with an aggrieved expression after hearing the lackey's words. Puchi. A soft chuckle was heard. Then, the owner of the chuckle, Ji Yun, said with a fawning expression, Ruoxue, I believe you. Be good. Leng Ruoxue helplessly patted Ji Yun's head and coaxed him. Ji Yun, who was being patted on the head, squinted his eyes in enjoyment, looking more and more like a little beast. Damn it, who allowed you to touch him? Just as Leng Ruoxue and Ji Yun were enjoying each other's caresses, an earth-shattering roar resounded through the air. Following which, Leng Ruoxue saw a fellow who was so angry that his entire body was on fire. He glared fiercely at her hand that was gently caressing Ji Yun's head. Ji Yun, on the other hand, shivered and quickly hid behind Leng Ruoxue in fear. "Ruoxue, protect me," Ji Yun fearfully said, the expression on his handsome little face growing more and more frightened. Chapter 1845, You Can Only Come With Me, 2, AI. Leng Ruoxue could only sigh when she saw Ji Yun running away faster than a rabbit. Actually, she really wanted to say, "Kiss. You're a man. Damn it. What kind of man is he if he hides behind a woman? Is this all you're capable of as the young master of the Ji family? I really don't understand why those old fogies of the Ji family would let you be the young master. Aren't they afraid that you'll destroy the Ji family?" Zhou Kun, who was furious, said in exasperation. He really didn't know what the Ji family's judgment was. They actually chose a coward to be the young master. When he thought of this, he couldn't help but feel sour in his heart. What does that have to do with you? Our Ji family is willing to let Ji Yun be the young master, what can you do? Go and catch rats elsewhere. We have cats in the Ji family, we don't need you. Upon hearing Zhou Kun's words, Ji Tao said in an unpleasant tone. Hee hee. After listening to Ji Tao's words, Leng Ruoxue couldn't help but laugh. This member of the Ji family was quite interesting. He actually said that Zhou Kun was a busybody. However, Zhou Kun was indeed a busybody. When he saw Leng Ruoxue laughing, Zhou Kun, who was about to get angry, was immediately silenced by her beautiful smile. He could only look at Leng Ruoxue in a daze. At this moment, Ji Yun and Ji Tao were nothing in his eyes. His eyes that were spitting fire only had Leng Ruoxue's smile. Ruoxue, he seems to be a little silly. Ji Yun, who was hiding behind Leng Ruoxue, could not help but whisper when he saw that Zhou Kun, who was still furious a moment ago, was now standing still and smiling foolishly. You're the one who's stupid. Leng Ruoxue lightly patted Ji Yun's head, her beautiful face filled with helplessness. I'm not stupid. Leng Ruoxue's words made Ji Yun so aggrieved that he was on the verge of tears. Tears welled up in his clear eyes as he looked at Leng Ruoxue pitifully. I'll teach you a lesson if you dare to cry. Leng Ruoxue shot a glance at Ji Yun as she warned him. I don't want to cry. I can't help it. You're bullying me. Woo, Ji Yun sobbed. Tears welled up in his eyes, but they refused to fall. When did I bully you? Leng Ruoxue gritted her teeth and asked. Why did this fellow like to say that others bullied him so much? Could it be that he had a face that attracted hatred? You said I'm stupid, but you won't let me cry. Ji Yun's mouth twitched. He felt extremely wronged. Hearing Ji Yun's words, Leng Ruoxue couldn't help but wipe away the cold sweat on her forehead. She then sneaked a glance at Ji Wu and Ji Tao. However, she saw that the two of them were as calm as ever, as if they were used to it. She immediately felt that she was making a big fuss out of nothing. She should have known about Ji Yun's character long ago, right? Why bother with him? AI. She realized that the number of sighs she had made in the past few days was more than the number of sighs she had made in a year. Alright, you're not stupid. Cry if you want to. Leng Ruoxue said helplessly. Hee hee. Ruoxue, you're the best. Ji Yun was as happy as a child who had received candy. Be good. Go play by the side, I have some serious business to discuss with them. Leng Ruoxue coaxed Ji Yun as she pointed at Ji Wu and Ji Tao. What business? Can't I listen? Actually, I can give you guys some advice. When Ji Yun heard that he had been excluded, he said dejectedly. He also wanted to participate in the official business. Serious business is boring. You won't like it. Go play by the side. Good girl. Be good and they'll give you some candy later. Leng Ruoxue was now completely treating Ji Yun as a little child. Then you have to give me lots and lots of candy. Otherwise, I'll stay here. Ji-yun started to talk about his conditions. Recently, Ruoshue had been using candy to coax him, and he really liked the candy. No problem. Len Ruoshue nodded in agreement. Seeing that he had achieved his goal, Ji-yun went to the side to wait. When Ji-woo and Ji-tao saw Ji-yun's reaction, they couldn't help but twitch their lips. What kind of situation was this? When did Ji-yun become so easy to talk to? A few pieces of candy. It must be known that although Ji-yun looked silly and innocent, he was publicly acknowledged as the smartest member of the Ji clan. But now, what had Ji-yun done? The beauty only gave him a few pieces of candy and he was coaxed to the side. This was too embarrassing. However, they believed that Ji-yun had his own reasons for doing so. Out of their trust in Ji-yun, they naturally did not ask too much less interfere with Ji-yun's thoughts and decisions. After sending Ji-yun away, Len Ruoshue walked towards Ji-tao and Ji-woo without a change in her expression and said softly, "What are you going to do? Should we continue fighting them or temporarily stop? If we fight, I'm afraid we're not their match right now. Moreover, we're injured. But will they agree to stop temporarily?" Ji-woo calmly pondered for a moment before saying, "In fact, it's best not to fight now. After all, although the Ji and Zhou families have a grudge, it's all on the surface. After leaving this place, it won't be too late to settle the score between them. But this place is different. There are many unknown factors here. Moreover, we've only been here for less than 10 days. If we lose our men now, what will we do for the remaining days?" Of course, this was only his own thoughts. The Zhou family might not think the same as him. "Well, no, if we ask." Len Ruoshue smiled as she reminded him. "If we ask, he definitely won't agree." Ji-woo said helplessly. He then looked at Len Ruoshue with anticipation. When Len Ruoshue saw this, she wiped the cold sweat off her forehead. She could tell that the Ji family was using her as free labor. But forget it. For the sake of Ji-yun, she would not argue with them. After thinking about it, Len Ruoshue turned around and walked to Zhou Kun's side. She said, "Young Master Zhou, can we temporarily stop the battle? If you want to fight, you can do it outside. Ceasefire." "All right. However, I have a condition." Upon hearing Len Ruoxue's words, Zhou Kun suddenly snapped back to reality. He looked at Len Ruoshue, who was so close to him, and his heart itched even more. Beautiful. She's so beautiful, this is a true beauty. After meeting Len Ruoshue, he deeply felt that all the so-called beauties he had seen in the past had all become ordinary and not worth mentioning. What condition? Len Ruoshue frowned and asked. "You have to tell me who your fiancé is, and let him fight me one-on-one. If I win, you'll be mine." Zhou Kun boasted shamelessly. When they heard his conditions, Ji-woo and Ji-tao were furious. This was clearly taking advantage of him. In fact, they were not afraid of Zhou Kun and the others. They just felt that it was more important to preserve their strength for the time being. After all, the two families had been enemies for a long time, and there was no need to fight to the death here. Wouldn't that benefit others? However, before the two of them could reject Zhou Kun's conditions, Len Ruoshue agreed first. "No problem. But what if you lose?" Len Ruoshue couldn't help but ask. In her heart, she was thinking, if this evildoer knew that someone had designs on her, he would probably want to beat them up, right? Now that this person had taken the initiative to come to her door, if she didn't take it on behalf of the demon might drink it up in jealousy after finding out. Chapter 1846, You Can Only Leave With Me, 3, This Young Master Won't Lose. Zhou Kun said confidently. "All right then." Apart from being speechless, Len Ruoshue felt a sense of powerlessness. She really could not understand where this person got his confidence from. "Zhou Kun, although you're very confident, I think it's better to say the ugly words first. What are you going to do if you lose?" Ji Tao couldn't bear to see Zhou Kun's smug look, so he said, hoping that the world would be in chaos. I said I won't lose. You don't understand what I'm saying, right? Ji Tao's words made Zhou Kun furious. Why is Ji Tao so annoying? He was everywhere. Let's not talk about losing first. The key is that if you lose, you'll have to pay a price, right? After all, if he lost, he would have to give up his fiancée. With such a huge price, it didn't seem right if he didn't come up with something decent, right? Don't think that your Zhou family can use your power to bully others. We all saw it. Ji Tao provoked. If this lord loses, this lord's life will be given to him. That should be fine, right? Zhou Kun couldn't help but be agitated and said angrily. You don't have any proof. What if you lose and go back on your word? Ji Tao said with a worried look. I said I won't go back on my word, so I won't go back on my word. Zhou Kun gritted his teeth and said with hatred in his heart. Ji Tao is really despicable. Why don't you write a receipt? Leng Ruoxue suggested with a smile. Even you don't believe me? Zhou Kun said with a bitter face and an aggrieved expression. Should I believe you? I don't even know you. Leng Ruoxue asked in surprise. From his tone, it sounded like he was acting coquettishly. Leng Ruoxue shuddered and quickly threw this thought out of her mind. You, Zhou Kun was so angry that he was at a loss for words. After a long while, he gritted his teeth and said, Good. I'll write an agreement. You can't write a written pledge. That thing's binding power is too low. You should just make an oath. Ji Tao reminded. Zhou Kun's face turned livid with anger after hearing Ji Tao's words. Fuck. She actually wanted him to make an oath. Could that thing be casually distributed? Although Zhou Kun had just promised to hand his life over to the other party if he lost, he was extremely unwilling to make him swear an oath. This was also for the sake of prevention. After all, they were from aristocratic families and knew what they could and couldn't do. However, seeing that Leng Ruoxue seemed to agree with this idea, Zhou Kun felt that he was in a difficult position. If he were to reject her, he was afraid that Leng Ruoxue would dislike him even more. Forget it, let's not make things difficult for young Master Zhou. Oaths really can't be made randomly. Let's just write a receipt. After a long while, Leng Ruoxue said in an understanding manner when she saw Zhou Kun's constipated look. In fact, she was thinking that with Zhou Kun's devilish behavior, the success rate of him reneging on his debt would not be high. Therefore, she was not afraid that Zhou Kun would have any other thoughts. The top priority was to stabilize Zhou Kun first. In fact, if they were to really fight, she was really not afraid of Zhou Kun. However, she did not want to appear too outrageous. After all, their every move could be seen clearly by the outside world. She did not want to expose all her trump cards to the eyes of others. Therefore, unless she had no other choice, she did not want to make a move easily. If she really did make a move, she would definitely hide her strength. Good. I'll write you an IOU. Leng Ruoxue's words made Zhou Kun feel more at ease. He was still thinking to himself happily, it seems that the beauty is not completely indifferent to me. Look. She was so considerate to him. Fortunately, Leng Ruoxue was unaware of Zhou Kun's thoughts. Otherwise, she would have been depressed to death. She was not being considerate towards Zhou Kun, but she felt that there was no need to do so. After all, it was impossible for Zhou Kun to renege on his debt. Zhou Kun wrote the IOU very quickly. After he was done, he immediately handed it to Leng Ruoxue. Then, he stared at her without taking his eyes off her, and he was daydreaming in his heart. As long as he thought about how this unparalleled beauty was about to belong to him, his heart was so beautiful that it was about to float up. Hee hee. Leng Ruoxue ignored Zhou Kun's slightly perverted gaze and suppressed the disgust in her heart as she reminded him, Young Master Zhou, since I've already agreed to your conditions, you must put aside your grudges with the Ji family for the time being. You must not find any reason or excuse to cause trouble for the Ji family here. Can you do that? Sure, as long as they don't come looking for trouble with me, I can let them off for the time being on your account. Zhou Kun promised. The reason he said that was to let Leng Ruoxue know that he was giving her face. Otherwise, how could he possibly let those brats of the Ji family off? Don't worry, they won't take the initiative to find trouble with you. Well, leave this place in a while. Leng Ruoxue said indifferently. As soon as Zhou Kun heard that Leng Ruoxue was leaving, he was immediately displeased. The reason why he did not cause trouble for the Ji family was because of Leng Ruoxue. If Leng Ruoxue left with the 3 boys from the Ji family, what would he do? At the thought of this, Zhou Kun immediately said loudly, "No. You can't leave this place. You have to stay with us." As for the 3 members of the Ji family, they could go wherever they wanted. He didn't care. On what basis? Leng Ruoxue raised her brows and asked in surprise. On the basis that you are. Zhou Kun was about to say that she was his woman, but on second thought, Leng Ruoxue was not even his yet. If he said this now, it would be bad if the beauty got angry. Thus, he swallowed the words "my woman." We've just reached an agreement. If you leave with them, where am I going to find your fiancé for a one-on-one fight? So, you can't leave. You can only come with me. The more Zhou Kun thought about it, the more he felt that his idea was good. In that case, he would also have the opportunity to prove to the beauty that he was good. Ah. All right then. Leng Ruoxue replied. Then, she looked at Ji Yun and the other 2 and said, "Let's go with the Zhou family for the time being. At least we can take care of each other. I'll go wherever Ruoxue goes." Ji Yun hurriedly said with an ingratiating expression. His little appearance made him look extremely obedient. We don't have any objections. Ji Wu and Ji Tao also looked at each other and saw a hint of a smile in each other's eyes, because they knew that Zhou Kun would definitely be depressed if the 3 of them followed him. Hee. Young Master Zhou, let's go. Leng Ruoxue said to Zhou Kun with a faint smile after getting the approval of Ji Yun and the other 2. Let's go. Zhou Kun did not expect that the outcome would be like this. He gritted his teeth and braced himself. After he finished speaking, he did not even turn his head back and walked in front angrily. Leng Ruoxue and the others saw this and followed behind him slowly. At this moment, the audience in the stadium saw the scene on the screen and their eyes widened in disbelief. What was going on? Did they see wrongly? Shouldn't the people inside start fighting as soon as they meet? The scene that they had thought would be an intense battle was over just like that. Everyone felt an unspeakable disappointment in their hearts, especially the families that also had a feud with the Zhou family. They didn't see the fierce battle between the Ji and Zhou families, and they were all unwilling to accept it. However, what could they do if the other party didn't want to fight? However, when the patriarchs of the Ji and Zhou families saw this scene, they were quite satisfied with their way of dealing with it. After all, the enmity between the 2 families could be completely resolved outside. There was no need to fight to the point where both sides suffered losses and let others benefit from it. That would be a great loss. Wow! This girl is actually using her beauty as a trap. Sitting in the Ning family's exclusive seat, the chief elder of the Craftsmen's Guild saw the situation on the light screen and couldn't help but click his tongue. The expression on his face was as if he had seen some rare wonder. What's wrong with your eyes? Did this girl even need to use a honey trap? As long as she stands there, she will have thousands of admirers who will be willing to follow her orders, do you understand? The master of the Ning family said with dissatisfaction, but he snorted coldly in his heart. Was there a need to use a honey trap to deal with the Zhou family's kid? That guy was a lecherous person to begin with. Don't be fooled by his appearance. In fact, he was full of tricks. Initially, he didn't know Zhou Kun. However, ever since Leng Ruoxue met Zhou Kun and the others face to face, he had specially sent someone to investigate Zhou Kun's past. After finding out about it, he couldn't help but worry for Shuai. After all, Zhou Kun was not a good person. As long as the woman he fancied submitted to him, it would be fine. If they did not, he would use any means possible. At the very least, his reputation would be ruined. At the very worst, he might even lose his life. Although this was the immortal realm, a woman's reputation was equally important. If a woman's good reputation was gone, the clan would feel ashamed. In worse cases, they might even expel her from the clan. After all, such a woman did not even have the qualifications to be a chess piece. Compared to his life, Master Ning felt that the act of ruining his reputation was more abominable. After all, if he lost his life, he would be done for and would not know any pain. However, for a woman with a bad reputation, unless she had the protection of her family or she was strong enough, otherwise, living would be their greatest pain. Right. Right. I said the wrong thing. Our girl's charm is boundless, those ordinary people can't resist it, hee hee. The great elder agreed with Master Ning's words without any backbone. What could he do? This old man's mood had been very unstable recently, so he had to coax him a little. He couldn't make him angry, otherwise, he would be the only one who would suffer. Chapter 1847, Ji Yun in Sheep's Clothing, 1, You're tactful. The master of the Ning family rolled his eyes at the great elder and said with its tone. Hee hee. Hearing their conversation, Uncle Long couldn't help but chuckle. These two old men weren't young anymore, but they were still acting like children. Was there any point in bickering over this? He couldn't understand the way they got along. Perhaps this was the so-called generation gap. Uncle Long. Do you think that Zhou Kun will harm the little girl? He's not a good person. The great elder smiled at Uncle Long and asked for his advice. His attitude was extremely affable. He dares. If he dares to touch a single hair on this little girl, he'll make sure his entire family is buried with her. Uncle Long's pitch-black eyes glowed with ruthlessness as he spoke in a vicious tone. Ah! Uncle Long, you're so imposing. The first elder couldn't help but wipe the cold sweat on his forehead and whispered in fear. He looked at Uncle Long and actually sympathized with Zhou Kun, who was trying to hit on Shuai. One had to know that that girl was not to be trifled with. Now that she had a few old fogies who were protective of her, whoever dared to mess with her would be courting death. Don't be afraid. As long as you're obedient. I won't beat you up. Uncle Long said to the great elder with a faint smile. Ah! After hearing Uncle Long's words, the great elder was a little depressed. What did he mean by as long as he was obedient? Did Uncle Long think he was a 3-year-old child? He had lived for so long and had never been coaxed like a child before. It was a new and interesting feeling. Ning family's boy, you be good too. Glancing at the depressed first elder, Uncle Long said to the master of the Ning family, but he thought to himself that since they had been good friends for many years, as an elder, he had to be impartial. Otherwise, if he only reminded one and not the other, it would definitely make them feel different, and it would make them feel unbalanced. Sure enough, hearing Uncle Long mention the old man of the Ning family, first elder felt much better. It felt weird to be coaxed like a warning. However, they were only able to calm down after hearing Uncle Long's words. If it was anyone else who dared to speak to them in such a manner, they would definitely end up in a miserable state. However, Master Ning was even more upset. Uncle Long. Am I not obedient enough? Uncle Long's words made the master of the Ning family very depressed. Woo, this was really unreasonable. He had only warned the first elder, how could he be implicated? Just barely. Uncle Long said, seemingly dissatisfied. Ah. The master of the Ning family was even more depressed, and when the great elder saw this, he couldn't help but laugh in his heart. Alright, stop discussing. Focus on the match. Uncle Long yawned and then closed his eyes to take a nap. The master of the Ning family and the first elder had to shut their mouths and look at the screen. At this moment, Leng Ruoxue and the others, who were in the special space, had no idea that they had become the focus of discussion. Leng Ruoxue was in a terrible fix. The Ji and Zhou families were too much of a troublemaker. There were 6 people in total, but no matter what they did, as long as one side agreed, the other side would definitely object to it. Now, the two sides were arguing about what to eat for dinner. And this was only their first day together. They still had to stay here for another 20 days. If they were like this every day, what would they do in the future? Leng Ruoxue didn't even dare to imagine. I want to eat chicken, I want to eat roast chicken. Not far away, Ji Yun craned his neck and his face was flushed red. He was fighting with Zhou Kun at the top of his voice for the right to have dinner that night. What chicken dinner? How do you know about chickens? He had long heard that the coward of the Ji family liked to eat chicken, and he would not be happy without chicken. However, he hated chicken the most, so he was determined not to eat it. So what if I like to eat chicken? Don't you like to eat stinky things? Ji Yun shouted in a bad mood. Fuck. Who told you that I like to eat stinky things? Do you want to die? Zhou Kun's expression immediately turned extremely ugly, and he secretly hated Ji Yun in his heart. Brat, how can you slander me like this in front of a beauty? Although he had a preference in that aspect, it wasn't like he liked her. Isn't this something that everyone knows? Why are you so angry? Ji Yun muttered softly. He was no longer afraid of Zhou Kun because Ruoxue would protect him. Hee. Zhou Kun was so angry with Ji Yun that he was trembling. He stretched out his fist and was about to punch him, but he was unexpectedly stopped by the 2 lackeys beside him. Why are you stopping me? I want to teach him a good lesson. Zhou Kun turned around and looked at the lackey who was blocking his way with a fierce look on his face. He then roared angrily. Young Master Kun. Calm down. He's making you angry on purpose, don't fall for it. Demeanor. Did you forget that you said you would perform well in front of Miss Leng? This Ji Yun has such a good relationship with Miss Leng, so why don't you treat him as your own daughter? Since he wants to eat roast chicken, then let him eat it. It's not a big deal. One of the lackeys whispered to Zhou Kun. Young Master Kun had told them that they had to pursue Miss Leng and leave a good impression on her. Therefore, as young Master Kun's think tank, he naturally had to think for young Master Kun. He couldn't let young Master Kun make mistakes in such trivial matters. After all, such trivial matters were the most challenging. What you said makes sense. After listening to Ji Yun's words, Zhou Kun's fiery eyes immediately calmed down, and his heart calmed down a lot. However, he loathed Ji Yun even more in his heart. That damn coward. He almost caused me to make a low-level mistake. I can't tolerate him. Then, he turned to Ji Yun and said, since you want to eat roast chicken, then eat it. However, you have to make sure the chicken is delicious, or I'll beat you up. Zhou Kun threatened. Moreover, the implication of his words was that he wanted Ji Yun to prepare dinner for the day. However, Ji Yun was exceptionally happy after listening to his words. Don't worry. I'm good at cooking, I guarantee you'll want more after you eat it. Ji Yun said in a fawning manner. After he finished speaking, he ran over to the fire that had already been lit and began to roast his fat chicken. At that moment, Ji Tao, who was helping by the fire, saw Ji Yun happily busying himself. He felt a little upset and couldn't help but say, Young master. Why should we serve them? We're not servants of the Zhou family. Ji Tao felt indignant, but seeing that Ji Yun didn't have much of a reaction, he could only put his dissatisfaction to heart and concentrate on helping Ji Yun roast chicken. After all, Ji Yun couldn't be the only one busy with food for so many people, right? Ji Yun was the young master of the Ji family. Serving others makes us happy, especially when it comes to serving the enemy. This is the best way to cultivate one's body and mind. Ji Yun laughed nonchalantly. Then, he took out a large pile of bottles and jars from his storage ring. In an instant, his hands moved quickly and the powder from the bottles and jars was evenly sprinkled on the already sizzling chicken. In an instant, the unique fragrance of roasted meat wafted through the air. Chapter 1848, Ji-yun in sheep's clothing. 2. Zhou Kun, who was not far away, could not help but swallow his saliva when he smelled the aroma of the roasted meat in the air. He thought to himself, I didn't expect this kid to have some skills. The chicken is so fragrant that even I, who has always hated chicken, want to have a few bites. After the chicken was roasted, Zhou Kun and the other two walked straight towards them without waiting for Ji-yun's instructions. Upon seeing that, Ji-yun quickly handed over a fat chicken with a faint smile. However, Zhou Kun ignored him and took the 3 chickens that were roasting over the fire. He ate one himself and shared the other 2 with his dog legs. Ji-yun saw that he was ignored and smiled indifferently. He continued his work as a chef to serve the people. After all, he had only roasted 4 chickens just now, and 3 of them had been eaten by Zhou Kun and the other 2. As for the other one, he naturally had to leave it for Ruoxue. As such, he, Ji Wu, and Ji Tao had nothing to eat, so they had to continue roasting. As for the chicken he had prepared for Leng Ruoxue, it was no surprise that Ruoxue had fed it to the not-so-cute little fox. However, this time, the little fox did not complain. After it finished eating the chicken, it lay comfortably in Leng Ruoxue's arms with its 4 legs up in the air. Its vigilant silver eyes sized up the few people present. The reason why it didn't return to the origin space this time was that it had accepted the task that everyone had arranged for it. It was responsible for monitoring these guys who had ill intentions towards its cute master. Zhou Kun, who had originally intended to please Leng Ruoxue, saw that Ji-yun had actually taken the initiative to hand the roast chicken to Leng Ruoxue. He was instantly burning with jealousy. However, when he saw that Leng Ruoxue not only did not eat the roast chicken that Ji-yun had given her, but had even fed the chicken to an animal, he immediately felt balanced. Not long after dinner, Zhou Kun, who was lying in his tent, suddenly felt discomfort in his stomach. He quickly stood up and ran out of the tent. Hee. My lovely master, someone's acting up. In another tent, Baby, who was lying in Leng Ruoxue's arms, heard the commotion outside and smiled evilly. You're such a gloating little rascal. Are you that happy to see Zhou Kun and the others make a fool of themselves? Leng Ruoxue caressed her baby's soft, silk-like fur as she spoke with a doting expression. Of course I'm happy. Who asked him to have ideas about cute master? He's really a toad lusting after a swan's flesh. Humph. Baby said with a look of disdain. Not everyone could plot against its master. However, it did not expect that coward, Ji-yun, to have such a trick up his sleeve. He had actually drugged Zhou Kun and the other 2 without anyone knowing. It seemed that one really couldn't judge a book by its cover. This was especially so for someone like Ji-yun, who looked very innocent and even a little silly. Now, it had a whole new level of respect for Ji-yun. It didn't expect that guy to also be so two-faced. Yes, he's going to suffer this time. Leng Ruoxue said with a faint smile. She had not expected Ji-yun to do this. In fact, when Ji-yun and Zhou Kun each brought a roast chicken to her, she had already felt the difference between the 2 roast chickens. Although the difference was very slight and ordinary people might not be able to sense it, as an alchemist, she was more sensitive to smells than others. Therefore, she could tell at once. It was also from that moment on that she began to pay more attention to Ji-yun. Perhaps this young master of the Ji family wasn't what everyone thought he was. Cute master, should we go out and watch the show? Well, let him know that we saw his embarrassing state and save him from always unconsciously thinking about master. Humph. Any man who dares to hit my cute master must be eliminated. Baby said indignantly, and his heart was filled with hatred. It's better not to go out. Leng Ruoxue said after some thought. It would not do them any good to go out at this time. All right then. Baby was a little regretful, but he had to listen to his master. At this moment, an angry roar suddenly came from outside the tent. Damn those Ji-yun, Ji Wu, and Ji Tao. Get out here. Upon hearing this voice, Leng Ruoxue could only stand up helplessly and leave the tent with the treasure in her arms. If she were to continue closing her eyes, she was afraid that Zhou Kun would vent his anger on Ji Yun and the other two in a fit of anger. As he walked out of the tent, Ji Yun and the other two were also yawning as they walked out. "Why are you calling us? You guys are full of energy and don't want to sleep, but we still want to sleep," Ji Tao said in dissatisfaction. "Damn it, what did you put on the roast chicken?" Upon hearing Ji Tao's words, Zhou Kun's heart burned with even more anger. Originally, he wasn't interested in chicken, but because the smell of the roast chicken was too fragrant, he couldn't help but eat a little. He didn't expect that he would have diarrhea in the middle of the night. After a few rounds, his legs were weak from squatting and he almost collapsed from diarrhea. "I didn't put anything. There are only some seasonings," Ji Tao couldn't help but say. Then, he looked at Zhou Kun and the other two, who were obviously pale and looked weak. He asked in puzzlement, "What's wrong with you guys? Why do you look so pale?" Although he said that out of concern, he was really happy to see Zhou Kun and the other two looking so weak. Fortunately, they were considered half-allies for the time being. Therefore, he appeared to be very concerned. "Arg! Are you having diarrhea? Where did you poop it from? Don't you know that this special space is under full surveillance?" "I'm finished. Now, the audience is lucky enough to see your big butts." When Ji Tao heard that the other party had diarrhea, he quickly reminded him in a fuss. However, he had long laughed in his heart. Zhou Kun and the other two were extremely embarrassed. However, how did they get diarrhea? Could it be Ji Yun's doing? "Oh! What a good seasoning. We all had diarrhea after eating your roast chicken. Speak. What did you put on the chicken?" Zhou Kun growled at the top of his lungs in a fit of anger. "Arg! Are you having diarrhea? Where did you poop it from? Don't you know that this special space is under full surveillance? I'm finished. Now, the audience is lucky enough to see your big butts." When Ji Tao heard that the other party had diarrhea, he quickly reminded him in a fuss. However, he had long laughed in his heart. Zhou Kun and the other two were extremely embarrassed. However, how did they get diarrhea? Could it be Ji Yun's doing? Oh! It's not impossible. He couldn't help but think. He knew it. How could Ji Yun, the black-bellied fellow who liked to pretend to be a pig to eat tigers, tolerate Zhou Kun and the others climbing over his head and abusing him? It turned out that he was already prepared. Hee. It must be known that there was a reason why Ji Yun was doted on by the Ji family. It was just that outsiders didn't know. However, underestimating Ji Yun would result in him suffering a great loss. This was what he had learned from his experience as a member of the Ji family. As soon as Ji Tao's words fell, Zhou Kun and the other two's faces turned even paler, because the matter was indeed as Ji Tao had said. Their embarrassing behavior when they were in a hurry just now should have been seen by the representatives of the major aristocratic families. What should they do? At that moment, Zhou Kun even felt like dying. It was not just a matter of embarrassment. It should be known that the master of this special space was the Divine Master. Now, the three of them were relieving themselves in the divine artifact that the Divine Master belonged to, and they were also seen by so many representatives of the great families. The evidence was irrefutable, and they could not deny it even if they wanted to. Once the Divine Master found out about this matter, they were afraid that they would lose their lives. All of a sudden, Zhou Kun and the other two became listless. Their bodies, which were originally a little weak due to diarrhea, were now trembling non-stop like fallen leaves in the autumn wind. Chapter 1849, Ji Yun in Sheep's Clothing, 3, Young Master Kun. What do we do now? A lackey's face turned white, green, and black, like a palette that kept changing. The words he spoke trembled even more. What can we do? Hurry up and clean up. Zhou Kun gave the lackey a hard knock on the head and growled in a low voice. After saying that, he turned around and ran away, while the other two members of the Zhou family followed closely behind. When Leng Ruoxue saw this scene, her forehead was filled with black lines. It seemed like she had worried for nothing. She originally thought that Zhou Kun and the other two would be eager to tear Ji Yun and the rest into pieces. He did not expect that Zhou Kun and the others would ignore them just because of a few words from Ji Tao. However, the consequences of relieving themselves in the Divine Master's divine weapon seemed to be quite serious. At the thought of this, Leng Ruoxue couldn't help but look at the confused Ji Yun. That pitiful face was still in a daze. However, after witnessing this, she no longer thought of Ji Yun as simple and naive. That fellow was an out-and-out, vicious, and merciless wolf in sheep's clothing. Sensing Leng Ruoxue's scrutinizing gaze, Ji Yun smiled timidly and revealed an innocent expression like a little white rabbit. With a face full of fear, he said, "Ruoxue, Zhou Kun and the others are so fierce. You scared me to death." After saying that, the mist in her clear eyes surged up again. Seeing this, Leng Ruoxue couldn't help but roll her eyes. Continue acting. She didn't intend to expose Ji Yun. She wanted to see how long he was going to keep up the act. Ruoxue. Seeing that Leng Ruoxue didn't seem too happy, Ji Yun continued to call out to her timidly. However, Leng Ruoxue continued to ignore him. Ji Yun was helpless and could only use the same trick to run to Leng Ruoxue's side. He pulled on her sleeve and choked, "Ruoxue, you will protect me, right?" Hearing this, the baby couldn't help but roll his eyes. Humph. Don't think that it didn't know what this guy was thinking. However, this move shouldn't be of much use against his cute master, because someone else had used the same move before, and it was that evildoer. Although there were some differences in the moves, they were generally the same. Don't worry. Zhou Kun can't be bothered to cause trouble for you now. He's in even greater trouble. Leng Ruoxue's words were a little ambiguous. She didn't say she would protect him, but she didn't say she wouldn't protect him either. However, when Ji Yun heard her words, he could tell that she was disdaining him. Ruoxue. I can cook. He can cook so many delicious things, not just roast chicken. However, the conditions here are limited, so I can't fully display my cooking skills. I'll make it for you when I have the opportunity in the future. However, you have to protect me first. If I die here, no one will be able to cook for you in the future. Ji Yun said pitifully. After saying so much, his main purpose was to get Leng Ruoxue to protect him. You said you would protect me. Leng Ruoxue reminded him for the umpteenth time. Her face was filled with helplessness. "Mmh. You protect me first, and I'll protect your stomach and feed you until you're full every day," Ji Yun said somewhat shyly. After hearing Ji Yun's words, Leng Ruoxue was left speechless countless times. As soon as baby heard this, he immediately became spirited. "What, are you planning to cook for my lovely master every day?" This silly boy clearly had ulterior motives. "Mmh. I'll take care of Ruoxue's meals from now on, I'll cook for her every day." Ji Yun hurriedly nodded. "But, my family's cute master has servant girls, and master's food is all prepared by them. If they know that you snatched their rice bowls, they will be very anxious with you. By the way, they're all very fierce," the treasure said with a hint of schadenfreude, as if it could already see Ji Yun's tragic end. "It doesn't matter. I'll get along well with them," Ji Yun promised. If he wanted to please Leng Ruoxue, he had to please the people around her first. This was what his father always said. Of course, his father's exact words were that if he wanted to please a woman, he had to first settle the people around her. This way, even if she hated you and ignored you, she wouldn't be able to withstand the praises from everyone around you. As time passed, you would naturally slowly seep into her life. It had to be said that old man Jis' way of thinking was similar to the way the demon pursued Leng Ruoxue. They both wanted to infiltrate the other party's life and were everywhere. If that's the case, then I'll represent my master in accepting you as an attendant. Baby waved his little paws and said with a pout. An attendant? Ji Yun was dumbfounded. He didn't want to be an attendant. That's right. It was an attendant. Besides, I'll have to give you a cut first before you can stay by my cute master's side. Otherwise, as long as you're a male creature, you can't stay by my master's side. Master's man is so fierce. I'll kill every extra man around master. Baby made a ka-cha gesture and said in a serious manner. The cut it mentioned was naturally to castrate Ji-yun. Hee hee. Baby's words made even more black lines appear on Leng Ruoxia's forehead. She really wanted to know who Baby had learned these things from. However, she guessed that Ji-yun and the other two wouldn't understand the meaning of the cut, and she naturally didn't intend to explain it to them. However, even if she didn't tell them, it didn't mean that their baby wouldn't tell them. He saw his precious child mysteriously smile as he looked at the obviously confused Ji-yun and the other two. He then asked, "Do you know where I'm cutting?" When Ji-yun and the other two heard this, they shook their heads in unison and adopted a modest manner. When Baby saw that they were so teachable, he felt even more pleased in his heart. He smiled a little wretchedly and said in a small voice, "Cut off the most important part of a man. After cutting off that part, the man will be impotent in the future. This way, the man who loves master will be assured that there are creatures of the opposite sex staying by master's side. Otherwise, there's no need to talk." Ah! When Ji-yun and the other two heard this, they were instantly dumbfounded. The expressions on their faces were extremely strange. This little fox seemed to be telling them the truth. They couldn't be sure of it in such a short time. However, if this matter was true, then the man who stayed by Leng Ruoxia's side was a little too pitiful, right? At the thought of this, the three of them looked at Leng Ruoxia to seek confirmation. However, Leng Ruoxia merely coughed a few times and turned her head to the side in embarrassment, ignoring the 6 pairs of eyes that were filled with anticipation. Seeing Leng Ruoxia's embarrassment, the three of them felt their hearts sink. Could this be true? Because Leng Ruoxia did not deny it, and since she did not deny it, the three of them naturally took it as a silent agreement. As they were worried that Ji-yun would do something irrational in his impulsiveness, Ji-woo and Ji-tao immediately dragged the unwilling Ji-yun to a corner after coming to this conclusion. They began to persuade him to dispel any thoughts he shouldn't have. After all, if a man were to be cut by a knife, his life would be over. Seeing that they had something to discuss, Leng Ruoxia carried the treasure back to her own tent. As for Zhou Kun and the other two, they were cleaning up the waste that they had discharged at the place where they had defecated previously. As the three of them had pulled it too many times, the cleaning process was a bit big. However, the three of them had already split up the work. Zhou Kun's 2 lackeys were in charge of cleaning the feces on the ground, while Zhou Kun was in charge of cleaning the dirt on the ground with his water attribute divine skill. When the 2 lackeys used a small shovel that they had found somewhere to clean up the feces and pile them up, the 2 of them were a little troubled. This was because they had no place to throw these things. If they threw these excretions somewhere else, it would be equivalent to them working for nothing. Damn it! What are you guys doing? Hurry up and get to work. Zhou Kun, who was as tired as a dead dog, panted and roared, "Damn it!" He had cleaned up so many places and was half dead from exhaustion, but these 2 insensible things beside him had actually taken a break. This was really preposterous. Young Master Kun. There's no place to throw these things. Upon hearing Zhou Kun's reprimand, one of the lackeys hurriedly said, "Why don't you have a place to throw it? Just throw it somewhere." Zhou Kun was stunned as soon as he said that. All the places here belonged to the Divine Master. No matter where he threw it, the nature of the matter was the same. Sob. It seemed like there was really no place to settle it. Immediately, the 3 of them frowned and were at a loss. After thinking hard for a long time, Zhou Kun suddenly had a flash of inspiration in his mind, and he said loudly, "Zhou Cheng, hand over your storage ring." "A storage ring? Why?" Zhou Cheng asked with a pained expression. The storage ring that he was wearing now was a reward from his family not long ago. The space inside was very large, and he had been reluctant to use it. He wanted to put more things in preparation for entering the special space, so he used the ring. Who knew that young Master Kun would actually ask him to give up the ring? Suddenly, the only thought in his mind was that young Master Kun wanted to steal his things. However, after thinking about it again, the possibility of this was too low. After all, young Master Kun knew very well what was in his ring, but young Master Kun didn't even care about it. He couldn't understand what young Master Kun meant. What other reason could it be? Of course it's to pack things. Zhou Kun roared in a bad mood. Chapter 1850, Strange Movement, 1, What are you trying to store? Zhou Qing stammered as he asked. He did not know why, but he had a bad feeling in his heart. Wu, how could this be? Just treat this as storing these rubbish. Zhou Kun pointed at the pile of disgusting, stinky things on the ground and said matter-of-factly. Zhou Qing was dumbfounded when he heard that. Young Master Kun. And no, I can't. How can you use my storage ring to store these things? After a long while, Zhou Qing finally came back to his senses and said with a long face. If I don't use yours, do I have to use mine? Zhou Kun glared at him and said fiercely. Of course you can't. Zhou Qing said hurriedly, but his eyes secretly looked at Zhou Li, who was standing at the side, gloating. Why didn't he use Zhou Li's storage ring? Zhou Qing couldn't help but think to himself in anger. Zhou Qing, don't even think about it. My storage equipment was given to me by young Master Kun. Zhou Li said with a smile. In other words, he was saying, you dare to use the storage ring that young Master Kun gave you to store these things? Young Master Kun will definitely get angry with you first. Sure enough, as Zhou Li had expected, after hearing Zhou Li's words, Zhou Kun glared at him unhappily and ordered loudly, stop talking nonsense. Quickly hand over your storage ring. It'll get you a better one in the future. He was running out of patience. Oh. Zhou Qing responded unwillingly. Who asked him to be in such a disadvantageous position now? However, he did not have any hope for Zhou Kun to get him a better storage ring. Although the Zhou family could not be compared to the 8 great divine realms, it was still considered a top-notch force in the divine realm. However, it was also because it was a large family clan that there were many clansmen. As a result, the family's resources were slightly limited. If one was not from the main branch of the family or a branch family with good qualifications, it would be difficult for an ordinary clansman to stand out in the family. However, it was also because he was close to Zhou Kun, who was from the main branch, that his life in the Zhou family was better. However, he was only slightly stronger than the other members of the branch family. Otherwise, he would not have treated the storage ring given to him by the family as a treasure. It was a pity that the ring was about to leave him. Zhou Qing felt his heart ache, especially when he handed over his storage ring. He felt as if his heart was being cut by a knife. Seeing this, Zhou Li comforted him, don't be so stingy. After we get out, we can still use the storage ring after it's cleaned. Use my ass. Upon hearing this, Zhou Qing was furious. Fuck. This fellow was actually making sarcastic remarks. So it wasn't his storage ring. Enough. Don't make any noise. Zhou Kun, who had run out of patience, glanced at the two of them and roared in anger. Then, he handed the ring to Zhou Li and said, hurry up and pack up these things. Fuck. He had been cleaning up the feces for almost a night, and he was exhausted. More importantly, he had lost a lot of face. As for whether he could keep his life, he had no confidence at all. Sob. He hoped that the Master God would spare their lives on account that they had made up for their mistakes. He prayed sincerely. Yes. Zhou Li happily took the storage ring that Zhou Kun handed over and stored all the stinky things that were piled on the ground into the ring. Although the work was a little disgusting, it was worth it to be able to see Zhou Cheng's depression. After cleaning up the waste on the ground, Zhou Kun cleaned up the ground with his water attribute divine skill. By the time they were done, it was almost dawn. The three of them returned to the tent like dead dogs and refused to come out. Although they were already gods, their cultivation was limited, after all. They would still feel tired if they overexerted themselves. As expected, Zhou Kun and the other two's performance in the special space was fully exposed to everyone. In the beginning, when they saw the three big white buttocks on the light screen, all of them had an incredulous expression on their faces, and their foreheads were filled with black lines. Later on, what Zhou Kun and the other two did also made them dumbfounded. Many people couldn't believe their eyes. They even thought that they had seen it wrong. Because such a thing was simply impossible and shouldn't have appeared in the elite gathering. However, it had appeared. A good and proper elite gathering was held under the eyes of thousands of people. However, in just a few days, such an unforeseen event occurred. Was this still the extremely serious elite gathering? This was clearly a prank. They wanted to destroy the essence of the elite gathering. With this thought in mind, everyone looked at the Zhou clan leader with anger and hostility. Clan leader Zhou, that Zhou Kun is a junior that you like more, right? His way of doing things was indeed different. It has the style of your Zhou family. Next to the Zhou family was the Ji family's seat, and the one who had spoken was the Ji family's patriarch, who had a gloating expression on his face. Seeing the constipated expression on Patriarch Zhou's face, Patriarch Ji was overjoyed. At first, he had been quite dissatisfied with the God Lord's estate's arrangement of the two families together. After all, it was well known in the divine world that the two families were not on good terms. But now, he was somewhat grateful for the God Lord's estate's arrangement. Moreover, under close observation, the expression on the Zhou family's master's face kept changing. It was particularly wonderful to watch. This could be considered a rare sight. The master of the Ji family was in a great mood. If you don't speak, no one will think you're mute. The Zhou clan leader gritted his teeth and growled as he listened to the Ji clan leader's gloating and mocking. At this moment, his lungs were about to explode from anger. That damned Zhou Kun. She initially thought that he was a reliable person. Who knew that he would do such an embarrassing thing? The Zhou family had lost all their face. However, losing face was not a big deal. If the Divine Lord's estate were to pursue the matter, the Zhou family would probably be implicated. No. This was absolutely not allowed. He could not implicate the Zhou family because of these three idiots. At this moment, the Zhou clan leader immediately made the decision to sacrifice the war chariot to protect the general. The death of three incompetent clan members was not a big deal, but the Zhou clan could not be harmed. Just as the Zhou family's master made his decision, the guards of the Divine Lord's estate immediately came to invite him, saying that the Divine Lord's estate had something important to discuss with him. Seeing this, the Zhou family's master's heart sank. What he was afraid of really happened. The head of the Zhou clan's face was pale as he followed behind the guard in a daze. He did not even dare to look back as he left. After he left, the crowd was in a heated discussion. Some even boldly predicted that the Zhou family would probably be removed from the list of top families. And among these people, there were those who lamented the fickleness of things, and there were also those who gloated. Seeing this scene, the first elder sitting in the Ning family's seat became curious again. Old man Ning, do you think that the Zhou family will really be unlucky? I don't know, but even if they're not unlucky, I'm afraid the Zhou family won't have a good time in the future. How could this happen? It's so funny. The master of the Ning family smiled. Compared to some people's gloating, he felt that the matter was more ridiculous. Chapter 1851, Strange Movement, 2, he probably fell for it, but he deserved it. The first elder did not sympathize with Zhou Kun at all. However, he was very curious about the person who had caused Zhou Kun to fall for it. Could it be the little girl's doing? I think he'll be honest for a while. The master of the Ning family said with a smile. I don't think so. Uncle Long, who had been resting with his eyes closed, suddenly interrupted. Don't tell me he's going to be smug. The first elder asked in surprise. Just wait and see. Oh. I want to say that this year's elite gathering is very exciting. Uncle Long praised. Hearing Uncle Long's words, the first elder and the master of the Ning family couldn't help but wipe the cold sweat on their foreheads. They thought to themselves, Uncle Long's appreciation level is indeed different from others. However, compared with the previous elite meetings, this one seems a bit funny. Looking at their expressions, Uncle Long smiled. He didn't say anything and closed his eyes again. At this moment, the sky in the special space was already bright. In the special space, it was divided into day and night. At night, the special space had an extra trace of eeriness and horror. Therefore, Leng Ruoxue and the others would find a fixed place to rest at night. However, it seemed that today was destined to be different. When Leng Ruoxue came out of the tent with her treasure, she only saw Ji Yun and the other two. Zhou Kun and the other two were nowhere to be seen. Could it be that those three fellows had fled to avoid punishment? However, even if he were to escape, he wouldn't be able to escape from the Divine Master's palm, right? She thought to herself. Ruoxue. You're awake. The moment Ji Yun saw Leng Ruoxue, he immediately ran to her like a little tail. His clear and bright eyes, like those of a little white rabbit, stared at Leng Ruoxue without blinking. Leng Ruoxue nodded. She glanced at the excited Ji Yun and thought to herself, it seems like the talk about the treasure being cut with one blade yesterday didn't affect this fellow. Why did he still look so heartless? Ruoxue, I've made breakfast. Come and eat. Ji Yun was in a good mood and was very enthusiastic towards Leng Ruoxue. Leng Ruoxue nodded and walked over to the table that had been set up. She happened to see Ji Tao looking at her with a strange expression. Instantly, countless black lines slid down her forehead. What's wrong? Leng Ruoxue was a little surprised. Ji Tao's gaze was too strange. She didn't do anything, right? I'm fine. Ji Tao stuttered a little, and his handsome face was stained with a trace of embarrassment. Since you're fine, why are you looking at me like that? Leng Ruoxue raised her brows and asked curiously. Ah. Miss Leng's devastatingly beautiful face is unparalleled in the world, so I couldn't help but take a few more glances. Ji Tao's mind whirred as he hurriedly replied. He calmly wiped the cold sweat off his forehead. That was close, he almost told the truth. Actually, his main intention was to observe what kind of charm Leng Ruoxue had. They had tried to persuade him for a long time last night, but he had remained unmoved. However, it was undeniable that this woman's beauty was unparalleled in this world. If he didn't already have someone he liked, he would probably also fall in love with her. However, she already had a fiancé. He couldn't understand why Ji Yun was still involved. Did he really want to be cut and be unable to have sex in the future? Ah. Leng Ruoxue was a little speechless. Although Ji Tao's words were a compliment, why did she feel that something was wrong when she heard it? At this moment, Ji Yun had already brought a bowl of fragrant porridge and walked to Leng Ruoxue's side. He said politely, Ruoxue, this is the porridge I made for you. Try it and see if it suits your taste. After she finished speaking, she looked at Leng Ruoxue with anticipation. Her clear eyes were filled with the words hurry up and eat. Looking at the bowl of porridge, Leng Ruoxue's head ached. Although the congee was personally made by Ji Yun and she should show her support, it was precisely because of this that she did not dare to accept it. After all, she knew that Ji Yun was not a kind and innocent little rabbit. Naturally, she was more vigilant against him. Moreover, if the evildoer knew that she had eaten the porridge cooked by another man, he might do something. She had to be careful. Thank you. But I don't like porridge. Leng Ruoxue said apologetically. It doesn't matter, then let this little beast drink it. I put a lot of chicken in here. This little fox will definitely like it. Ji Yun, who was already prepared, had a calm smile on his face. However, he still felt a little hurt in his heart. Woo! Ruoxue had rejected him again. Ever since the two of them had met, he had washed his hands and made soup for Ruoxiu every day. Unfortunately, he had never tasted any of it in Ruoxiu's mouth. This fact made him extremely conflicted. Was he really that unattractive? He didn't believe it. However, it was also because of this that he became braver. I don't like porridge either. I only eat meat. Baby, who heard this, quickly said in dissatisfaction. Eating meat so early in the morning is bad for digestion. It's better to eat something light. Ji-yun placed the congee in front of his baby and coaxed him. I don't want to. Baby stubbornly turned its little head and decided not to give this silly boy any face. However, Ji-yun was even more stubborn than Baby. He picked up the spoon and fed Baby a spoonful. He continued to coax, be good. Eat some. This congee is very delicious. Ji-yun had decided. To please the people or beasts by Leng Ruoxiu's side, he would start with this little fox. However, this little fox didn't seem to be easy to deal with. It didn't matter, he had plenty of patience. He would definitely succeed one day. I said I'm not eating. Do you not understand human language? The baby was furious. Fuck. Did this guy have to force it to swear? You're not a human to begin with. Ji-yun's eyes were wide open as he warned in a low voice. Upon hearing his words, Baby became even angrier. He was so angry that all the hair on his body stood on end. He bared his fangs and brandished his claws, wanting to rush in front of Ji-yun to scratch him. However, it was fortunate that Leng Ruoxiu held onto his furious baby tightly. Otherwise, Ji-yun's handsome face would have been ruined. Calm down. Leng Ruoxiu caressed Baby's fur and comforted him. Cute master. Don't stop me, let me teach him a good lesson. Baby roared in anger and bared his teeth to intimidate Ji-yun. However, this gave Ji-yun a chance to ask for help. She saw Ji-yun-shu lean towards Leng Ruoxiu with tears in her eyes. She tugged at the corner of her clothes and said with a wronged expression, Ruoxiu, your little beast is so fierce. Like master, like beast. The master was fierce, and so were the beast. Oh. This was probably what her father had always said, if you're not a family, you can't enter the same house. Baby isn't usually like this. Leng Ruoxiu said with a faint smile as she avoided Ji-yun's touch. What does it usually look like? Ji-yun tried to start a conversation. Very well behaved, obedient, and cute. Leng Ruoxiu laughed as she spoke. Upon hearing these words, Baby's thunder a little tail was about to stand up.